Good evening. The Board of Trustees regular meeting is now called to order at 4:31 p.m. We welcome members of the public. Instructions on making public comment are posted in item 1 on the agenda. We will ask at each action item if there is public comment. Armando, can you please do roll call?
Student trustee Dizon here. Trustee Dodd here. I'll pause for just a second. I'll skip for now. Trustee Olson. Trustee Rios here. Trustee Iverson here. Trustee Kishnev here. And Trustee Baker
here.
We do have a quorum.
All right. I think I may have said this last month, but now since it's officially your final meeting, Trustee Dizon, would you like to lead us in the pledge? As we gather today, it is important to acknowledge that Napa Valley College and the surrounding Napa Valley sit on the unceded traditional, ancestral, and contemporary homelands of the Miwok Patwin, who are comprised of 3 federally recognized tribes: the Kachil-Dehe Band of Winton Indians of the Calusa Indian Community, the Quetzal-Dehe Band of Winton Indians, and the Yocha-Dehe Winton Nation, and Wapo, including the Mishwa-Wapo, also known as the Onosatis peoples. As part of the Napa Valley College's mission of transforming lives through excellent educational and professional opportunities that are student-centered, equity-focused, and community-oriented, and in accordance with the college's values of accountability, integrity, inclusion, respect, social justice, and sustainability, we make this acknowledgement. We also affirm that this acknowledgement is insufficient. It does not undo the harm that has been and continues to be perpetrated against Indigenous peoples, the land, and water. May we hold steady in our commitment to be in solidarity and in action to seek equity and justice for the Miwok, Patwin, and Wapo. Okay, moving on to adoption of the agenda, we are going to need to postpone a couple of consent items, items 9.11 and 9.12 to the June regular meeting. Are there any other changes to the agenda? And we're going to adopt the agenda as amended. And 9.11 and 9.12. So moving on to one of our favorite times of year is recognitions. So we are going to start with outstanding Napa Valley College Storm athletes. So Dr. Mora, I believe, is going to introduce our presenter.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Athletics is one of the most successful student success programs that we have. And to feature our outstanding achievements of our student scholars, I'd like to ask Dean Jerry Dudlamp to present. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the board, cabinet, and I'm glad all you're here for the athletics, I'm sure. So it's always a nice time of year because we get to show some of the accomplishments within the division of athletics. So next slide, please. Hopefully my eyes can see that far away. So this year we brought in over 190 athletes in the fall. That was a 34% increase from the previous year. And a lot of that is due to River Trail Village. Some accomplishments this year was the women's golf team finished 8th in the state. Men's and women's basketball team both reached the state playoffs. The men's golf team last week, and thank you all for your support for getting them down there, finished 7th in the state. And that team is comprised of all freshmen. So they're going to be a pretty solid team next year. Caden was awarded an MVP of the conference in soccer. And if you remember Rose Jameson from 2 years ago, she was awarded one of the top 8 scholar athletes in the state of California at our 3C2A spring conference. We listed out some of all of our international and out-of-state students that we brought in this past year and a half. The majority of those, if not all of those, are living in River Trail Village. We have 70+ student athletes that are living in River Trail. And I want you all to know that every time we have a recruit on campus or recruiting weekends, our coaches take them through a tour of River Trail Village. So they're really trying to support River Trail. And a lot of our student athletes that we're getting to commit right now will be living in River Trail Village. Academic achievements, which were, when I kind of ran these numbers, I was happily surprised. We had 120 athletes earn a 3.0 or better. We had 77 student athletes that made the President's Honor Roll. 24 of those students earned perfect 4.0s last semester. And then 44 student athletes earned academic all-conference honors. So not only are they doing it out on the court, the field, the course, but they're doing it in the classroom. And 15 to finish has always been our goal too in the athletic department. Next slide, please. So just some quick success stories on 4 of our athletes, kind of took a representation of everybody. One of my favorite athletes we've had here is Martisha Pollard. She came here from Oakland Tech, really fine young lady. She's a RA up in housing. She got into some little issues with her academics, so we had I brought Martisha in. We had a good heart-to-heart talk. There were some tears on both sides. What she needed to do to become eligible her sophomore year. She had to pass 10 units over the summer, and then she had to reach the 2.0. Well, she completed 11.5 units with a 3.85 GPA over the summer. So we were super happy. And Martisha has opportunities to further her education and also play basketball. Kieran Mannion came over he's on our men's basketball team from Petaluma. He's got a 3.7 GPA. He has his associate's degree in business administration. He was an academic all-conference and helped lead us to the state playoffs. He's been accepted. I think the last place I heard he was accepted to was the University of Connecticut. So he'll be moving on academically next year. Habiki Kodama is one of our baseball players from Japan, earned a 3.36 GPA, which is quite impressive. He is earning his associate's degree in business administration. He was all conference, academic all conference, lives in River Trail Village, and he has multiple offers to continue his education and play baseball next year. I believe he's going somewhere either in Arizona or Kansas, but he will be moving on to play. And then Elizabeth Webb was our top female golfer. She had a 4.0 GPA here. Well, all 4 semesters. She has an associate's degree in natural sciences. She's from Tahoe, lived in housing, academic all conference. She was all Big 8 in golf, and obviously helped the team to an 8th place finish in state and 3rd place in NorCal. And I know she's been accepted to UC Santa Cruz and I believe UC Davis. So those are some of the accomplishments. I did speak to Dr. Moore today about an incoming student athlete we have. She is coming in next year with 63 college credits and already has earned an AA degree from Reedley Middle College High School. So she's going to come here and earn another degree in kinesiology and major in economics. So we're going to be super excited. Her name is Rain. So she'll be coming in the fall. And then lastly, obviously, I want to thank everybody. I never want to try to leave anybody out, but I really have to give thanks to Alfredo Hernandez and Amanda Frost and Lauren Farmer, because they're the ones that initially helped the onboarding process and really, really work with our student athletes when it comes to their academics. And without those 3 folks in that office, we wouldn't have the academic success that we have. So thank you all for having us, and we look for another great year next year. So thank you.
So next we have the Phi Theta Kappa Awards. So Dr. Moore, can you please introduce Kathy Gillis?
Absolutely. Kathy Gillis is our faculty advisor, and feel free to go up. I just want to mention, because I doubt she will mention this, but Kathy was honored at the California Regional Conference of Phi Theta Kappa for being the distinguished advisor. So congratulations again, Kathy, on that.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Once again, I am here on behalf of our Honor Society, and I want to thank the Board of Trustees, as usual, for their support and many of the administrators that helped us with our projects as well. In particular, Dr. Powell, who was integral in our projects, and also any number of you that helped in support. Also, since we're talking about colleges, I have 3 represented today, 4 that are going to transfer. So it'd be nice if they talked about it and what they're majoring in. And so they'll tell you, they'll narrate their slideshow right now.
Yes. I'm Ashley Hall. I'm the outgoing president of our Phi Theta Kappa chapter, and I'm transferring to the University of San Francisco to study sociology.
I'm Alessandra Martino. I'm the executive vice president, and I don't know yet where I will be transferred or due to some, commitments, but for sure I will continue my education.
My name is Arlo Stein. I am the outgoing treasurer of the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society. I'm a history major transferring to UC Irvine to finish my bachelor's degree.
My name is Lena Stein. I'm the outgoing VP of Communications, and I'm transferring to Sac State to major in criminal justice.
My name is Kyle Hadler. I'm going to be the incoming treasurer. And
I just wanted to kind of go over the awards that we won for 25-26. So the regional awards we were given in April of this year. We got the 5-star chapter award, which is the highest award overall for our work during this academic year. We were also given the Cultural Project Regional Award, the Cultivating Leadership Regional Award for our professional development and leadership here on campus. As we already said, Professor Gillis was honored as the Distinguished Advisor Award. And we got first place, Most Distinguished Honors and Action Theme Award for our research project, which is the Stories That Shape Us, Centering Silenced Voices on Campus. Next slide. And then this should say 2026 International Awards. We went to Catalyst in April, right? We went to Baltimore. Last week of March. We went to Baltimore for our international conference, where we were given the Hallmark Award for Distinguished Honors and Action Project. We were called on stage in front of 3,000 students and other advisors to accept our award for our Outstanding Honors and Action Project. We also placed top 100 chapters out of 1,300 top placing chapters. And I want to give a huge thank you to our advisor, Professor Gillis, Dr. Torrance Powell, Dr. Alejandro Guerrero, and to the Napa Valley College for your guys' unwavering support for our chapter, Phi Theta Kappa as a whole, and for helping make our dreams of going to Catalyst a reality. And us as a chapter would like to present Dr. Powell. We know you're leaving, but we have awards to give you, so you come up. Our regional. And this is the award we won at Catalyst. Would not have gotten here if it wasn't for me. So. Oh yeah, there is one more slide just to show photos of our trips. So yeah. Thank you guys.
Thank you very much. So next, we have a resolution honoring student trustee design. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I do want to read a couple of things and then just invite any of the rest of the board members if they'd like to say something, and at which point I will then entertain a motion. So one of the whereas is basically just lists all the things he does, which is a lot. But he has served as president of the Dreamers of Community Change and treasurer of, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have picked this one because I can't say that word. Somebody do that for me. How about you turn your microphone on and you say it for me?
I begun.
Thank you. Club, along with working as an instructional office assistant in the Mesa STEM Center, he always sought opportunities to support and advocate for students and was influential among his peers, demonstrating a strong desire to meet and make an impact on the campus community. And I would definitely say that that's true. I think that you have set the bar very high for future student trustees. You've done more than any other I've seen before in terms of your efforts to really communicate and make certain that the rest of your constituency knew what was going on and had an opportunity to be heard. So anybody else want to say anything?
I'd like to say something, just echo what Jennifer said. You just always, I love that what did you call them? Chat with a trustee or coffee with a trustee or something like that, where you made space for students, office hours, or I can't remember what it was. Common grounds, thank you. Just made space and time for students to come and meet you on campus and share their concerns and hear from you, and always wove that information into your very lengthy, very thorough, comprehensive reports to us, which I appreciated tremendously. Yes, very appreciative of your time and your effort and going above and beyond in this role.
And I just want to echo that. And also just when people didn't come to you, you went to them. And I really appreciate that. I appreciate your voice incredibly. And again, like the other trustee said, we haven't had such a wonderful advocate in this seat before. And I really hope that you set the bar and that it gets surpassed or at least met. So I know our new student trustee's here. I'm sure he'll do a wonderful job, but you definitely have really contributed significantly in your time here, and I really appreciate it. And I know that I hope we'll hear from you again, and that you can come back and tell us all the wonderful things you've done. Thank you.
If I could as well, President. Trustee Luna said it very well. I like that. You've been a wonderful advocate because you really have been, Justin. We have worked with many student trustees over the years, but what's been very impressive, not disparaging them, but what's been very impressive to me is your ability to really pick up very complicated topics like budget issues, thinking through it, asking very good questions, telling what you think by asking those questions, but not holding that in tight, which is actually I think it's a good quality listening first. And yeah, you're very impressive. And I think you're going to be doing some really impressive things going on into the future. And you just keep up that attitude of always being interested, always being a listener, but not being afraid to express your opinion when it's time to. So I wish you the best in the next step.
Right, you gotta get a motion then.
I'll second.
We had a motion from trustee DeLuna, a second from trustee Olson. All in favor?
Hi.
Hi.
Motion passes. All right, so now we move on to the swearing in of our new student trustee, assuming he still wants to do it. So, with and the approval of BP 2015 student member. So, Riley, if you come up to the podium, and Dr. Powell will swear you in.
Right, you ready?
Yes.
Okay. I state your name.
I, Riley Love,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties into which I'm about to enter.
the duties of which I am about to enter.
Right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Board.
Okay, on this item also, we are approving the board policy 2015 for student member. And so I just need a motion and a second for that item.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, so motion from trustee DeLuna and second from trustee Olson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Next item is the Dr. Ed Schenk Excellence in Student Service Award. Dr. G, would you please present this item?
Absolutely. So this goes to Julia Hernandez. Don't know if Julie's here. I don't, she may not be here, but the recognition honors student affairs professionals who make outstanding contributions to student learning, retention, and personal growth. And Julie exemplifies the very best of that work. Julie is a dedicated, compassionate, visionary student service professional who leads with purpose and puts students at the center of everything she does. Through her incredible work in the Basic Needs Center, Julie has expanded services across campus and fundamentally strengthened how we support student-based needs and essential needs. Because of Julie's leadership, countless students now have access to critical resources like food, clothing, shelter, and resources that remove barriers that make persistence a successful and possible endeavor. Julie, thank you for your compassion, collaboration, advocacy, and unwavering commitment to our students and our mission. You truly make a difference, and Napa Valley College is stronger, more caring, and more equitable because of you. Felicidades, Julie.
All right, next we have the Administrative Confidential Employee of the Year, and Admin Confidential Senate President Christine Tapia is going to present.
Try not to drop anything there. Good afternoon, everyone. It is my honor tonight to present the 2026 Administrative Confidential Employee of the Year Award to Dean Jerry Dunlap. Jerry was nominated by multiple people across campus, independently from different corners of the college. When recognition comes from that many voices, it isn't about visibility, it's about the work. And the word that kept coming up in his nominations was steady. That's hard to do. It's hard to be the person who shows up early, stays late, and keeps doing the work year after year without needing the spotlight, but that's Jerry. A couple of lines from the nominations capture him better than I could. Jerry consistently shows what it means to be present, respectful, and supportive. He leads with integrity, especially in managing resources, finding ways to reduce costs without cutting into the quality of the student experience. And this one, which really sums it up. He is someone people trust, rely on, and want to work with. In our line of work, in any line of work, really, that is the highest compliment a colleague can pay you. So thank you, Jerry, for the way you show up, the way you lead, and the way you take care of this place and the people in it. On behalf of the Selection Committee and the Administrative Confidential Senate Board, it is my privilege to present this award and resolution to Jerry Dunlap and to ask everyone to join me in congratulating him. I'd say a few words.
I really don't know why the hell I was chosen for this award. But I'm honored, and I want to thank those that nominated me. I've always thought to be an effective manager, leader, president, vice president, coach, you need to be surrounded by great people. And the people I work with on a daily basis are incredible. They're here for the right reasons. They're here for the students of Napa Valley College. And not only that, I honestly can say they're better people. And they make coming to work every day a joy. And I really enjoy working with them. And I really appreciate this. My wife and daughter couldn't believe it when they heard about it. So I thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right. Now we're going to be acknowledging our retiring employees. We have three, technically four, but Catherine Kittle, who retired in September of last year, actually left in June. So we already read her, so we're going to skip. So we've got three individuals that are retiring. I don't know if they are here. Is Stan Hitchcock here? Fantastic. All right. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read just a couple because these are fun. Says Stan always promoted and supported the machine tool technology program by ensuring that he stayed current in the field. He has left an enduring legacy among colleagues and students. And my favorite one, it says that your dean refers to you as not just a unicorn, but a purple unicorn for his blending of education and industry knowledge to build skills and confidence of students and transform lives through career education. So thank you so much for your years of service. He has been here for 10 years. And next we have Catherine Ratliff. Is Catherine with us this evening? No, okay. I'm just going to read a couple of things about Catherine. She served in the nursing program as both an assistant director and a co-director. She always promoted and supported the nursing profession in the nursing program by ensuring that she stayed current in the field and is seen as an expert in multiple content areas in nursing, and will leave an enduring legacy among colleagues and students by being accessible, professional, compassionate, knowledgeable, and caring. Catherine was with us for 13 years, so thank her for her years of service. And the last one I have is Faye Smiley. Is Faye here? There you are. I thought I saw you. All right. So I remember, I think I met Faye when she was serving as interim vice president of instruction. And let's see, my goodness. So Faye has been advocating for student success, always placing their learning at the forefront of her actions. She showed her love of teaching and learning through her easy laughter, encouraging words to colleagues, and willingness to listen and hear others' truths. Says she maintains a love of puppets and Disneyland, which I want to know more about now. And she has modeled and shared her goodness with the greater community, and her area dean wishes her that it may come back to her multiplied in her new chapter. We all wish that for you, Faye, who has been here for 26 years. Thank you so much for your years of service. So may I get a motion for these three resolutions?
So moved.
And a second? Second, okay, we have a motion from trustee DeLuna, a second from trustee Iverson, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. All right, so now we're moving on to constituent group reports, Associated Students of Napa Valley College.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Naphtali, and then Omar's going to be taking over, so we'll give you more information.
Thank you, Naphtali. Naphtali Lone, our current president, he's going to be our incoming president for the following academic year. So we're all happy about that. Thank you, Naphtali. We had some things to share about Justin. I'm not sure if it would be better to wait until public comment for that or just use it during our report as well. Okay, great. Sounds good. So Justin, this one's for you. It was a pleasure to work with trustee Dizon, and I'm just going to refer to you as Justin if that's cool with you. That's just how I'm used to. It was an easy year for you, right? I think that's that's sarcasm, by the way, for anybody that doesn't know. But yeah, Justin never complained about it, but he definitely had a difficult year compared to other trustees that I've worked with. My name is Omar, by the way. I'm the manager of the Office of Student Life here at NVC. Dedication, hard work, commitment, great sense of humor. This is all how I would describe Justin. I'm not sure how much you learned from me, Justin, but I learned a lot from you. So I appreciate you stepping up for this role and really showing me what a student trustee is capable of. I got to see a glimpse of your potential and what is yet to come. Super easy to work with, and I appreciate everything that you did. So thank you. I'm going to pass it on to Ashley, who also had some words to share about Justin, too.
This afternoon, I want to take a moment to recognize Justin for the incredible job he has done as student trustee. What has always stood out to me most is his ability to genuinely connect with students and make people feel heard, valued, and represented. He has truly embodied what it means to be a student leader through his dedication, professionalism, and heart for this campus community. I am incredibly proud to have had the opportunity to serve alongside him on the ASNVC board and to watch him grow, not only as a trustee, but as a person. Leadership is more than just holding a title. It's about growth, impact, and the way you inspire those around you. And Justin has done exactly that. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that you are going to do incredible things wherever life takes you. Napa Valley College has been lucky to have you, and I know this is only the beginning for you. Thank you for everything you've done for the students, for our board, and for our community.
There we go. Justin, I don't have anything prepared. He asked me to come and I said, I'm coming because I'm going to show up like you always showed up. You're always present in class. You're always leading in class, just like you're going to go forward and do good things. Buddy, just so proud of you. So great to see you grow. And drop back by and let us know. Your success is our success, buddy. We are proud of you. Thank you so much.
All right, I'm going to hop in now to recognition of our current 2025-2026 ASNVC board. If I can ask all the current ASNVC members to stand up, please. And that includes you too, Justin. All right, great. If I can get a round of applause first as a quick thank you. All right, y'all can sit down now. You don't have to stand the whole time. All right, so thank you for your leadership, dedication, and commitment to serving the students of Napa Valley College. If the folks that are transferring could raise your hands, please, just so folks can see how much of our board is transferring. And then I think we might be missing a couple members too. And then who's continuing on the board? Got a couple here. It's 4 total. So yeah, that's typically what we see is that we have like either a large amount of our members are moving on, but I'm happy to see that we got at least 4 members that are continuing that can keep that momentum because this really was a great board this year. Thank you all for your hard work and for making a lasting impact on our department and campus community. I've heard positive comments from various folks around campus, which I would say is rare, but it's awesome to hear that, like, you know, from different areas on campus, you know, you're hearing such great things. So that just kind of shows about the impact that you've made on campus. One of the things I love about this position is seeing the development of each individual. And I can really say that leaps and bounds, each individual on this board was able to improve. And the point of ASNVC is to develop leadership skills and abilities. And I'm proud to say that every ASNVC individual on the board has done that. Through meetings, events, challenges, and successes, you represented the voice of students with integrity and heart. Congratulations on an incredible year of service and leadership. Your efforts will continue to inspire future generations of student leaders. We will greatly miss those who have just graduated, and we look forward to continuing to work with the folks continuing next year. Thank you. To the third slide. So up next, I just wanted to have some of the members who recently went to a conference in Washington, D.C. to just share some takeaways. So whoever went to D.C., whoever wants to go first, feel free. No pressure.
Good afternoon. I just want to say thank you for supporting us to go to Washington, D.C. As being president and going over there, taking my team, it was a really big learning experience for me as a leader. And I think one that changed me a lot. So like after that, I feel like it changed me a lot. And then the rest of the year was really good. And I want to thank the board for helping me out so much. Thank you.
How's it going, guys? I'm Gabe. The trip was amazing, honestly. You know, it really taught us on how far advocacy can really reach, not just as a student, but as a professional as well. It was cool also building connections with people out of state. One thing I took away was that how, you know, gifted we truly are living in California. Met a few people from like South Texas and Colorado, and it was such a huge like change that kind of like drove me to do more in my community. Um, thank you guys.
Hello, everybody. First and foremost, I just want to say a big thank you to the college, Omar, and to Dr. Smith. I don't think he's here today, but to just for all that went behind the scenes and to make this trip possible for us. It was honestly a huge opportunity, and I'm very grateful that I was able to go on this trip. And it, like the members before me have said, it was very life changing. It's very changing to a person to see to be able to do it firsthand and to go to Washington to promote and to just stand up for students, not only just at our college, but worldwide, especially seeing how much like the Pell Grant and like the federal work study truly is life changing, and especially in times like these. I'm just very grateful that I was able to just share a little bit of my story to people like Representative Mike Thompson, and I'm just really grateful I had the opportunity. So just thank you to everybody.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Oscar Vega. And like my fellow board members, I'm just extremely grateful to be given the opportunity to have gone to DC in the first place. I think what was so powerful about it was we weren't able to just advocate for our fellow students in Napa Valley College, not just for California students either, but we were able to advocate for students across the country, which I thought was so amazing and so powerful. Not just that, but just going to DC itself, I thought was an amazing time, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity. And I'd like to thank Dr. Ryan Smith for going with us.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Megan Apolinar Garcia. I'm a senator on the ASNVC board, and I'll be continuing next year. I want to thank you all for having us here today, and for anyone who was behind the scenes as well, who made this trip possible for us. Like Justin once said in like presentation he gave in class, the student voice is one of the most important voices on campus, and it's also mostly one of the most underused ones. And so being able to go to Washington, D.C. and speaking with Mike Thompson, even though or some of us spoke to him here in this room, I think it's very impactful. And it just goes to show how much matters to us, and just being able to represent students on campus. I think it's very important. And I just thank you all. Thank you.
That concludes our report.
Thank you. Next, we would have classified Senate report, but it looks like that won't be happening. So next is classified association report. Kira Sullivan.
Hey everyone, my name is Kira Sullivan. I am here to provide a constituency group update on behalf of classified employees in the classified union. I am pleased to report that the union and district have reached a tentative agreement, which should finalize all impact bargaining related to the layoffs imposed at the beginning of this semester. While I doubt anyone involved would say they're happy about this outcome, I do believe that we've reached a mutually agreeable agreement, minimizing total displacements and ideally easing the transition ahead. On July 1st, when that transition takes effect, departments across the campus will lose longtime colleagues. Some will welcome new team members, while others will be asked to redistribute the existing workload. While the bargaining on this issue may be concluded, the impact in many ways is yet to be felt and will continue after July 1st. Over the summer, our campus will also welcome a new president, and Dr. Pittman will join our college at yet another pivotal moment, one where transparency and stability are paramount. I've said recently that I want to hope that the changes before us will be positive ones, and I'm still optimistic that they can be. As we continue to work on the campus-wide reorganization still before us, classified staff cannot and will not let our essential contributions to the college be overlooked. I want to remind my colleagues of our power as a collective. I believe in us because we are NVC and we are the union.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kara. Next, we have the Administrative Confidential Senate Report. Justine Tapia.
Hi, good evening again. On behalf of the Administrative Confidential Senate, I want to share a brief reflection of our year. If I had to name one theme that defined the year for our managers and confidential staff, it would be navigating change. There is a very useful distinction between change and transition. Change is a situational event, but transition is the human work of moving through it. And both have unfolded across our college this year, and much of that work has quietly fallen to our group. That work is often invisible, and managers in the middle are the ones who carry the heaviest load during transitions. They translate institutional decisions into day-to-day reality. They hold steady when others are looking for stability. Our group has done that all year, often without recognition and almost always with the well-being of students and colleagues guiding their decisions. And one person who embodies that is Jerry Dunlap. He just left to go back to work. He is steady, principled, and deeply felt across campus. Jerry really represents the best of who we are. And Jerry's example matters because this year has asked a great deal of our group. Workforce reductions, leadership transitions, and a difficult bargaining environment have taken a toll on our colleagues and on our campus climate. In response, our Senate has brought 4 themes forward to leadership and to this board in February. These should sound familiar by now. Earlier and more meaningful engagement of managers in decisions affecting staffing and operations, transparent communication so we can lead with integrity, honest attention to workload, capacity, and sustainability as responsibilities shift, and a culture that centers care for our employees and for our students. We raise these now because the months following major disruption are when an institution either grows into something stronger or drifts into prolonged uncertainty. And the choices we make in this moment will shape the ones we live into. So looking ahead to next year, our focus is very clear as managers: strengthening shared governance, rebuilding morale, and partnering with our next superintendent president, and sustaining the work that keeps this college running well. This is a new beginning, but new beginnings require intentional design, not passive recovery. And our members are always ready to partner in that work. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe that concludes the reports. So now, this time, we're going to be moving into closed session. At this time, the board will devote a total of up to 15 minutes to hear comments regarding closed session agenda items. Individual comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment for closed session?
Madam Chair, we do not have any public comment for closed session items.
All right, then we can close public comment, and this time the board will move into closed session and we will return at 6:15. Items for closed session are a conference with legal counsel, public employee performance evaluation, and public employment. We are returning to public session, and the board did take one reportable action. In closed session, the board voted unanimously to reject the government claim presented to Napa Valley Napa Valley Community College, claim number 671671, presented April 22nd, 2026 by claimants Janice Lacey and Danielle Tillman, Frida Tillman representing. So now we're moving on to general public comment. This public comment opportunity is governed by the California Brown Act. The board is not able to engage in any level of conversation or discussion, but we look forward to this opportunity to gather community input. And hold on. At this time, the board will devote up to 15 minutes to review comments to the Board of Trustees regarding any subject not appearing on an agenda item for this meeting, but over which the board has jurisdiction. Each comment shall last no longer than 3 minutes. Armando, do we have any public comment?
Madam Chair, yes, we received 5 general written public comments, which are on the agenda for the record. And we have one individual wishing to make public comment in person, and that is Juliana. And you can come up to the podium.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Oh, yes. Hello, my name is Juliana, and I'm a student here at Napa Valley College. I apologize, but I would like to touch upon a recurring pattern that I have been noticing over these past couple years here at NVC with the communication between the board and the staff and students on these recent decisions. Over the years, I have witnessed the struggles in establishing a proper contract for the staff. I have learned day of about the decision to cut the adaptive PE program. Meanwhile, Professor Kling, the workers, and the students had only been informed of this decision the week before. I have witnessed my peers struggling to set up appointments for accommodations, for counseling, and financial aid as a result of the cuts to EOPS and DSPS. Throughout all of these financial decisions and issues, I have noticed one glaring issue in particular: the lack of communication from the board and the students and the staff about these decisions. Some students, myself included, had only been informed of these decisions last minute. Many continue to remain unaware of these decisions and will likely remain unaware until their professors inform them about it or until they seek out these services themselves and experience the ramifications of it. Furthermore, your staff and your professors continue to question the reasoning behind these decisions that you've been making because they themselves are unaware of the true extent of these reasons. As it stands, I believe that as these issues continue to build and there's a lack of communication from the board and the staff and the students, the faith of and trust between your students and your staff will continue to deteriorate. And especially as the students and staff rely on these services to support their educations, their futures, and their lives. I recognize that there are members of the board who have been making efforts to inform and communicate about these issues with the students and the community and ensure their voices are heard. And I would like to thank these board members for these decisions. But I ask that in the coming semesters that there will be more efforts being made to inform the student populace about these decisions being made, especially as it affects the staff and their services. In order to rebuild the trust and faith between the staff, the professors, the board, and the students. Thank you for listening and thank you for your time.
Thank you. If there's no other public comment, we will close public comment. And then next we have the approval of the consent calendar. See the motion and second.
I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
That was a motion by trustee Olson and second by trustee Dodd. Yes, so all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, we do have some public comments on consent items.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So is there public comment? We'll rescind our vote for the moment.
We'll maintain the motion in the second, and we can accept public comment as part of the discussion. And we do have 4 total comments here in person. And the first is Jessica Jessup. Jessica? Okay, we'll move on to Scott, and I believe it's Parkhurst. Scott? Okay, if not, we have Rebecca Thompson. Okay, and finally, Jeff Gold.
Hey. Just to be clear, the Jeff showed up.
Can you clarify which item you're going to be speaking to?
Oh, sorry, I have that on the card. My apologies, Madam Chair. That's Jeff Gold speaking on the NVTA college partnership.
Napa Valley Tennis Association. So thank you for a couple of minutes. This will be very brief. First, I want really thank Dr. Powell, Jim Reeves, and the other folks that have been involved with our developing relationship to have Napa Valley Tennis Association involved with the reconstruction and running of the tennis facility here at Napa Valley College. We think it's potentially a beautiful one of those rare win-win situations where the courts, which are really poorly degraded right now, will be upgraded to essentially new levels. That'll allow the facility to be used and maintained for a long time to come, maintain public access, expanded use for leagues and teams, youth training, all the things that we provide over at Vintage High School. So very quickly, just want to thank the group for allowing us to participate in these conversations, and really looking forward to bringing this to a conclusion in a positive way over the next several weeks and months. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so we will retake our vote. We had the motion was from trustee DeLuna and it was trustee Olson, and second was from trustee Dodd. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Moving on to general information items. 10.1 is the annual report and annual fiscal report submissions to Accrediting Commission for Community and Junior Colleges, Dr. Warnall, and also Vice President Reeves are going to co-present this item.
Okay, good evening, board. As Trustee Baker indicated, Jim and I are here to present two annual reports that are required to be submitted to the ACCJC each year by definition, and it tends to be in the spring. So if we could start the PowerPoint.
All right, here.
So I'm going to introduce some general information, and that'll give a summary of the annual report, and I'm going to pass it over to Jim, who will talk about the annual fiscal report. So this is general information about the two annual reports to the ACCJC. They are required annual submissions they're required of every member institution. This is part of their general practice. They report performance and financial data over the past 3 years. So the performance data falls to me in terms of institutional effectiveness and data on our students, and then Jim handles the fiscal side. The mechanism, the AFR in particular, has been the mechanism for annual monitoring, including the assessment of fiscal health. And so included on the PowerPoint, there is a kind of rubric and an assessment process that the ACCJC and some associates conduct. And they assess whether you're healthy, which means that there's no monitoring needed. If you're at moderate risk, which means that they might continue to monitor us. However, there is no communication about that, and there's no follow-up required. And then the one that, as most of us probably lived through and experienced and remember, you can be placed at risk, in which case you are, or you're evaluated to be at risk. So then they have enhanced fiscal monitoring, and they require a written report about what we're going to do about that. So the ACCJC is expanding their practices associated with the AFR and welcoming the ALOs like me and the data people into the applying those practices to the annual report. So they are, and they have been developing an index for evaluating our performance, and they will notify the ALO, so that's me, if they have any concerns about recent performance. And so they will communicate that to us. And then one thing that they started implementing last year through the annual report was that we are required to self-evaluate on a rubric that they've provided regarding effective institutional outcomes transparency and sharing information about our students to different audiences, and then summarizing the communications and what will be done about any trends in the data that are concerning. Both reports were submitted to the ACCJC last month prior to the deadline. And so that's the general information. Next slide is the annual report piece. And so this is just a summary of the metrics. They're kind of divided into two categories. So first is head count. So the number of students and enrollment patterns among those students. So since we do report a 3-year period, that presumably will factor into the ACCJC's assessment of our recent performance. So the 3 areas that these cover include the unduplicated headcount of both credit and non-credit students each year, then headcount in our degree applicable credit courses, and then finally headcount within distance education. And then the second category is student achievement data. That includes 2 metrics that are published by the U.S. Education Department College Scorecard, and those are graduation and transfer rates. And then we report our performance on the metrics associated with our institution set standards. 4 of our 5 institution set standards are reported and collected via the annual report each year. So that those are successful course completion, and then completion of degrees and certificates, and transfer. And finally, the second part of the institution set standards, which are really program set standards, at least locally, because those involve a select number of our programs, particularly in the CTE and health occupations areas. Those are licensure exam pass rates and job placement rates. And again, those are for select programs where that's applicable. And my final slide is, whoop. Thank you. Okay, so some highlights of our recent performance. So this, I have at the top the cases where we exceeded the institution set performance consistently. So in each of the 3 years that are reported, and that was the successes in that area were successful course completion rate at the institutional level, the number of certificate recipients each year at the institutional level, and then for licensure exam pass rates, 2 of our health occupations programs consistently exceeded the standard. And then for job placement rates, 7 of our programs, namely within CTE, health occupations, and administration of justice, exceeded their institution sets or program level standards for job placement. We do also have some successes recently in terms of meeting our established stretch goals. And so those include the successful course completion rate. We met the established stretch goal in 1 of the 3 years. For licensure exam pass rates, the respiratory care program met the stretch goal in 1 of the 3 years, and that is noteworthy because the goal was 100%. So you can't obviously have a stretch goal in excess of 100%. For job placement rates in all 3 years, the stretch goal was met for viticulture, accounting, and student development, child development and education. And then for job placement rates, there were programs that hit at the 100% placement rate for in at least 1 year. So for the P-TECH program, that the job placement rate of 100% was met in 2 of the 3 years, and then respiratory care, registered nursing, and paramedic program all met their 100% job placement rate in at least in 1 year. And this item is directly related to the institution set standards, which we revisited this year, and I'll have more information on that under the next item, but now it's Jim's turn.
Thank you, Dr. Warnell. Armando, can you pull up the AFR? Thank you. This is the 26th annual fiscal report we provided to ACCJC. You'll notice that the period measured is through 24-25, however. So as you look at some numbers I'll share with you later this evening, I just want to caution you that this is a year before some of the reporting you'll see later. I think as context, and Dr. Warnell referred to this, as context, we're in enhanced monitoring in 22, and we were successful in getting out of that, moving out of that in just over a year, thanks to the leadership of the board and the good work of cabinet and our colleagues across the campus. So this provides some context for where we've been since then. So under revenue 4A, total unrestricted general fund revenues, you can see 22-23. You can see that the revenues have been moving progressively greater. 24-25 is a little bit inflated for 2 reasons. Well, primarily because we received that first tranche of COVID relief funds, and so you'll see that in 24-25. Our other unrestricted funding sources, you'll see are a smaller number, but clearly we're moving in a positive direction. Moving down the schedule, our unrestricted general fund beginning fund balance is an important part, as a metric that our financial partners and the Chancellor's Office measures us against. You'll see the 5A is the net unrestricted general fund beginning balance. And then more importantly is the 5A, the net restricted general fund ending balance, including transfers out, you'll see that the balance has improved year over year. The outlier is in that 24-25 year. And that fund balance is inflated for the very reason I mentioned before, the COVID relief funds, but also because we were carrying those funds that we had not allocated to salaries and benefits as we were negotiating CBAs. All in all, we have reached the minimum threshold for reserves with the Chancellor's Office at 16.67% or slightly better since the 22-23 year. So that's all very positive. You'll see our expenditures in 6A, our total unrestricted general fund expenditures have gone from 44.5 million in 22-23 to 24-25 at 51.1 million. Our salary, these are the salaries and benefits breakout in 6. Our liabilities and debts in section 4, Armando. We did not borrow any money for cash flow purposes, attribute to good stewardship of our resources. We had no short-term borrowing, and we did not issue any unrestricted long-term debt instruments during that period. So all very positive, certainly in terms of the financial condition at this point in time. Moving down to other post-employment benefits, you'll notice we have an ongoing liability, an actuarial liability for OPEB of about 31 million. That is an estimate of what it might cost to pay out everyone who's eligible today and who is working here who will be eligible over time. So that is a liability. You may recall that the OPEB liability is a pay-as-you-go today. We pull that out of the unrestricted general fund and pay that bill. We have, as at 13, we do have an irrevocable trust for OPEB, so we're putting some money away there. And then 14B, we did not make a deposit on the irrevocable trust. Our cash position, section 6, again, this is through 24-25. Our cash position, cash balance at June 30th from the 311 report, you can see that 22-23, you'll see that's a little bit of an outlier. That's when we were receiving the first tranche of the funding for student housing. That's why it's inflated that cash balance there. We sent those funds on to the contractor for the construction, and that's why you see a decrease in 23-24, and in 24-25 you'll see it's leveling off a bit. Annual audit information in 23 and 24 and 25, we had 2 audit findings. We continue to work on those. The 50% law is the one that's a persistent one. Scrolling down, our FTEs budgeted, you'll notice at 21A, you see the changes in the budgeted FTEs, and at 21B are the actual FTEs. So one of the educational master plan goals is enrollment stabilization. We might be able to make the claim that we're in enrollment stabilization now. And then 22 through the remainder of the report, essentially, did the institution settle any contracts? At that point in the report, we had 2 open contracts. We now have them closed, as you well know. And then 23 is an interesting one. We've talked about this. Our loan default rate is sitting at 0. It's just a little hard to believe. So we've really looked at what ACCJC is looking for in terms of definition for loan default rates. Most institutions like ours have a fairly low loan default rate, certainly as compared to more traditional 4-year and particularly private institutions. So we're looking at how that's being defined. Leadership changes in 24, we did not have any. And though that will change next year. And so that concludes the fiscal report. This report indicates that the institution is in sound fiscal condition, and know that in context subsequent to this, we have been working on the challenges associated with lost funding from federal sources, et cetera, that we will reflect a little later. And that would certainly conclude my portion of the report.
All right, did anybody have any questions? Okay, moving on then to 10.2, institutions set standards and stretch goals for accreditation. Dr. Warnell.
Thank you. Alrighty, this is possibly exciting to some of you all because you might have been asking about this for years now. So I'm here to present the institutional goals associated with our institution set institution set standards, and this is coming to you as an action item. But I'm going to present the PowerPoint that kind of summarizes the attachments that were included with this agenda item. So if we could advance to the next one. So the context for these is that we are preparing for some of our upcoming accreditation reviews. And so this slide conveys some of those activities. So first, our midterm report is going to be due by the middle of October of this year. It will be coming to you for action in September in anticipation of that. Our midterm report, the institution set standards represent one of the 4 sections that are required for the midterm report. So it's an opportunity for a deeper dive and update at obviously the midpoint between our comprehensive accreditation review cycle. So 1/4 of the report will focus exclusively on the institution set standards. Per our local AP, we will be beginning the preparation for our next comprehensive accreditation review in the fall. And so that is by December because it will be due in December 2028. But we have, and I'm happy to share with you tonight, that we have some training scheduled for the institutional self-evaluation report, the ICER, and that's been scheduled for Friday, September 25th from 12 to 3. There'll be more of that on that to come in the fall, but mark your calendars as you see fit. Then our ICER will be due by December of 2028, as indicated there. That will then be followed by the formative review by our peer review team in spring 29, and then the focus site visit in fall 29, and the ACCJC will take action on the comprehensive in January of 2030. So note at the bottom here, the current institution set standards and what we've been operating in, under for a while now, they were established by the board way back in May of 2019. That's why they might seem a little outdated. And our goal is to review and consider revising the institution set standards at least once between comprehensive accreditation reviews. So that's why I'm here tonight. All right, so additional context, some details regarding the 2024 accreditation standards and the references to institution set standards within the standards themselves reside within standard 1 regarding institutional mission and effectiveness. And I've listed the 3 most relevant standards here. So since we just got out from under the 2014 standards, I'm going to review them just and read that through them just to help familiarize everyone. So standard 1.2 says the institution establishes meaningful and ambitious goals for institutional improvement, innovation, and equitable student outcomes. 1.3, the institution holds itself accountable for achieving its mission and goals and regularly reviews relevant, meaningful, disaggregated data to evaluate its progress and inform plans for continued, improvement and innovation. And one thing in preparation for our comprehensive, particularly regarding 1.3, we have been developing disaggregated reports associated with our core indicators report, which is one way that we monitor our performance, and it comes to the board every year. Also, the EMP progress report is something how we monitor our performance. And then 1.5 is the institution regularly communicates progress toward achieving its mission and goals with internal and external stakeholders in order to promote understanding of institutional strengths, priorities, and areas for continuous improvement. So these are where the goals and the institution set standards really factor in. Next slide, please. Okay, so the expectations that the ACCJC laid out way back, I think it was in 2012 when they first introduced the standards, is that the institution set standards are intended to define academic quality for Napa Valley College. So it's a locally defined standard, and that, so in a sense, it represents the floor. And if we ever dip below that performance level, it should be cause for concern. Stretch goals are, as indicated, they're aspirational, and so they represent the ceiling of performance. And if performance ever does dip below the established standard, then it should trigger an institutional planning response. So kind of an all hands on deck kind of. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so the planning committee is the group where a lot of this work resides, and the recommendation regarding the institution set standards originates and comes out of the planning committee. On the left, have part of the committee's charge, which is to recommend institutional goals and monitor the performance relative to those goals. This graphic that is included here is part of our planning handbook and the infographics that describe the planning committee's role. That was something, just by the way, for those who are interested, this was the need for a planning handbook was something that was self-identified in our last ICER. And I'm pleased to report that last year, the planning committee created the first version of the handbook, and now we've updated it and refined it further this year. So this is the graphic that describes that charge that's summarized over there on the left-hand portion of the slide. And you kind of start at the top left with institutional performance data. We review 5 to 6 years of recent performance data. And then we have a very, in this case, this year, a very thorough and comprehensive discussion about recent performance. And then we make recommendations to the superintendent president. So that's why these are coming to you tonight. And then as part of the annual process, we monitor performance. So this graphic applies specifically, as indicated on the top right, to any chancellor's office initiatives that we're required to set goals for, and then the institution set standards for accreditation are listed there, as are our EMP metrics, which the planning committee engaged in that process last year. Okay, so I think we're ready for the next one. Okay, so the planning committee had extensive engagement with the institution set standards this year. This was over the course of 7 meetings, and no less than 7 meetings at least. So during that period, we, as listed here, we reviewed the existing metrics. We considered options for refining them. And then once we reached consensus about the measures themselves, we reviewed recent performance data, again, per that graphic describing our charge. And those are based on the performance all along the lines of the refined metrics. And then one thing we've never done as part of this process before, we did incorporate some context for the proposed standards and stretch goals, and that was intended to provide some rationale and increased transparency for the campus community. We also, so to align with that idea, if we ever reach the trigger and dip below our anticipated performance level, then it should trigger some institutional planning response. We started to document some strategies that we could consider if we ever do dip below that point, so that we wouldn't be starting from scratch. And again, that's to strengthen communication efforts. One thing that my faculty co-chair for the planning committee, Hope Scott, and I have noticed in recent years is that every time we talk about the institution set standards, members of the planning committee and possibly newer members of the board say, you know, who set these goals? Where did they come from? And the answer is your predecessors. But it indicated to us that we needed to do a better job of communicating the purpose of the standards and how they align with accreditation to help fill in some of those communication gaps this year. So we held a campus-wide forum, and then we also met with the counseling department specifically once we had tentative recommendations in place, and those occurred in mid-March. And then we took action to recommend lots of different changes, so including new metrics themselves, new standards, new stretch goals, and then the trigger points. And those were recommended to Dr. Powell following the meeting on April 17th. Alrighty. So this slide summarizes our current metrics and then how we refine them. I would say that as a general rule, we wanted to cast a wider net to include all of our students in the metrics, not limit them to fall and spring students necessarily. And then we wanted to have a more comprehensive view of our students' collective successes and outcomes. So the current metrics are on the left, the refined metrics are on the right. Successful course completion rate in the past has been limited to fall and spring terms. We deliberately chose to include summer. They are our students who are here in the summer, even if they're passing through or getting some extra units for a four-year institution. So we've expanded that net. We did have fall to fall persistence as the metric before, and that was one of ours that's included as our own locally defined standards, but it's not collected through the annual report to the ACCJC each year anymore, although it used to be. We refined that to shift to fall to spring persistence. And the reason for that is because that's the metric that's in our educational master plan. So a lot of this is really about tightening up and refining and continuously improving our planning practices. For completion, we look at unduplicated numbers of degree recipients and non-duplicated numbers of degree recipients, certificates and degrees, and there's no change to those metrics moving forward. The number of transfers, our existing metric now has been limited to CSUs and UC institutions in the fall term only. That has to do with how the UC system reports transfers from community colleges. Again, along the lines of casting a wider net, getting a sense of the more comprehensive story of successes among our students. We've now expanded it to be all 4 transfer segments. So that includes in-state private and out-of-state institutions, and where the data are available, then we report that across the academic year, not just in the fall term. The highlighted and asterisks lagged is that the one downside, the reason we limited it to CSUs and UCs in the past is that that's what was available. That information was available when the annual report was due to the ACCJC each year. That's continues to be a bit of an issue. So as an example, I think that the Chancellor's Office posted the in-state private and out-of-state institutions sometime last month, and the report was due by April 15th originally. So the way we accommodated that is that that's the data are always going to be lagged for the transfers. So we would be reporting in the fall, it wouldn't be including through 25-26, it would be through 24-25. So then the exciting news is that in anticipation of our first cohort of our bachelor's degree students, which will happen this fall, we had to expand the metrics to include that type of degree specifically. Okay, so then for the current trigger point and the refined trigger point. So we in 2019 had recommended and the board established a trigger point of dipping below 90% of any established institutions at standard in any given year. That there's some research history associated with that, but since we kind of took the approach of nothing sacred and we're going to review everything comprehensively, we decided that might obfuscate and confuse rather than clarify. So what we are recommending as a new threshold is an average performance across the most recent 3-year period dipping below the established standard. So not the 95% possible confusion. So it's intended to clarify and simplify. And then the other beauty of having the 3-year average is that we can we'll be monitoring it every year. So we'll have a signal if we need to, have more deliberate planning to prevent the 3-year average dipping below the threshold. Excellent. So the next 5 slides contain some of the same information that's included in the attachment. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through each one, but I'm going to introduce the structure here and then just do a few highlights as we move forward. So first, the graph at the top. So when I mentioned the ceiling and the floor, so those horizontal lines, whether solid or dashed, do represent the proposed ceiling or floor and ceiling. And then as we would hope, the recent performance has fallen within that window. So that's the idea. So some of the context for this, the recommendations is provided on the left at the bottom there. So that includes that we looked at our performance relative to the statewide system rate for last year, and we are a little bit below that. So we are recommended for retaining our existing institutions at standard of 70%, but then to encourage continuous improvement, and because we approach the stretch goal in year 1 that's on the graph there, we increase the stretch goal to 78% from 76%. Then on the right, we have the potential strategies to consider, again, to position us so that if we do ever fall below the standard, then we can implement some of these strategies immediately, including early warning, supplemental instruction, and engagement strategies for students. So that's the successful course completion rate slide, and I'm going to just highlight a couple things from each one from here on. So fall to spring, the refinement to the metric here. One thing that factors into the context for this and that stretch goal that you see at least 2% above recent performance, the CRM and the implementation of that as a communications tool is one of the pieces of information that the planning committee took into account. And then also the is to for you strategy, I think also previously known as the 15 to finish strategy, is part of that to encourage continual striving to the educational attainment and educational goals of our students. Certificate recipients. So one thing we have noted here as context for proposed performance levels is that program discontinuance could have an impact on these metrics. One thing that the campus community and members of the planning committee had requested as we engage in this was we always get this question, well, we know our enrollments or our headcount has dropped during this period as well. So what we incorporated into the context over there is we took the peak year of performance, recent performance, and looked at the change in both, in this case, the certificate recipients, and then relative to credit student headcount during that same period. So between, in this case, between 2020-21 and 2024-25. And as noted on that final bullet on the left, so between those 2 years, the number of certificate recipients decreased by, sorry, you know what? Yeah, okay, decreased by 27%, whilst credit student headcount decreased by 2%. So it's a much steeper decline in terms of the outcomes. It's not accounted for by decreasing headcount alone. It's much steeper. So that's cause for concern, and you'll see that carried out in the final 2 slides here. So degree recipients, same thing. So the peak year was 2021, and headcount decreased by 2%, while the number of degree recipients decreased by 29%. The note over on the right is that we do have the recommendations for the bachelor degree completers, and that we did base it on the on-time completion rate among students in our existing Associate of Science program reports. And then finally, for the data slides, transfer, again, same thing here, although because of that lag that I mentioned before, the peak year of performance captured in the graph is 2019-2020. In the period from there to 23-24, headcount decreased by 20%, while transfers decreased by 26%. So again, across all 3 metrics, there's been a steeper decline in the outcomes, the successful outcomes metrics. Final slide is the proposal as the action item. So this includes the institution set standard and stretch goal for each of the 6 metrics. And then the overall trigger point is described at the bottom. One thing about the number of bachelor degrees completers, we know what the maximum for each cohort would be within the new program, but we don't know who's going to show up and what the size of the cohort will be. So at least in this kind of transition period, that's very exciting. We have a percentage of the entering cohort. And again, we used the historical information for our AS program to inform that target. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Does anyone have any questions? This is an action item, so is there any public comment?
There is no public comment on this item, Madam Chair.
Right, I just need a motion and second. Oh, Jeff, did you have a question?
Yeah, just some questions, I guess. And thank you, Dr. Warnall. I try to struggle, or I'm struggling in a sense of like, I want to, you want to shoot for the stars, right? And then hopefully you fall, somewhere close there too. And I'm looking at some of the decreases on the slides, and I think I'm just, or maybe you could just talk about it more conceptually in a sense of like, what's the pros and cons about setting these kind of lower goals? Because a lot of these, and I appreciate where they're dropped. At a conceptual level, I completely appreciate and agree with the need to decrease some of those. those totals and percentages. But I guess the question is by what degree? And so I guess when you're considering those goals and the committee's considering those, how much to reduce, so like what are the pros and cons or your thing? I'm just looking at this 3 years down the road. I'm saying, oh man, we're absolutely just doing so well. We're doing this, but I also don't, in the same regard, I try to, if I had the slides of where we were in, 22 and or 21, 22, and I see actually, well, that's pretty much average, from where we were 5 or 6 years ago. So, yeah, I'm trying to, I guess, to deduce it down into maybe a simple question is, why are we setting, it seems like the set standards are maybe perhaps a little bit too low. And I'm looking at this probably not with all the tools and all the data that
Yeah, and I will say, I will just again point to like very lengthy in-depth discussions at the planning committee meetings, some focused exactly on what you're asking about. So we didn't decrease the standards across the board. So as an example, just the first one remains where it has been at 70% for successful course completion rate. So in some ways I would point to the context that we provided. So as an example, I'm just going to take transfer. I think everyone's aware of what's happening over at Sonoma State and the cuts that they had, particularly last year, in terms of decreasing their programs, major cuts to faculty positions and things like that. And they used to be one of our primary transfer institutions. And with the limit, the reduction in seats available there, that's something that will affect our transfer metrics that we can't control. Right. So that was one of the things, like what's within our control and what's not. And so even though we certainly, in the EMP, we want to stabilize enrollment, I mean, that's not going to really turn that dip around as much. But so we were trying to be very deliberate and mindful about the ones that we had recommended any decrease on. And it's within the context, again, of recent performance.
What about certificates? Like, for instance,
so
we've never been below 300. And we're setting, over the past 6 years, never been below 300, but we're setting a standard for ourselves for 250.
So again, the context for this one is program discontinuance. I can tell you years ago, in that building, not here. So that's in a galaxy far, far away years ago. I was presenting data for the annual report, for the core indicators report at the time, and there was a big dip in certificates, like on the order of 60 within 1 year. And the board said, what happened? And the answer was, well, remember when we discontinued the cosmetology program? That accounted for about 40 certificates per year. So that's an important, and as we go through reorganization types of decisions and program discontinuance, we need to be mindful of that, because we make a decision and then down the road we see an impact, and so that was part of the context.
Opposite scale, going from the new baccalaureate program, going from a high goal, or was it institution set goal of 75%, and then our stretch goal is 95%. Why such a large delta?
That was well, because this is new to us is part of it, I would say. We did base that on, again, like I said, recent performance of our AS degree cohorts. And I think that their high has been 70% of the program completing on time. So that's the key thing too. That there are always more students that take more time if they didn't successfully complete a class or something, or couldn't fit that into their schedule or something. So, and respiratory care is probably, most people know, is one of our big successes. I think it was listed in the last item as it had reached its 100% stretch goal on both job placement rates and licensure exam pass rates. So it is a very high performing. And a lot of these the students that will be coming back were our former students in that program.
Yeah. Everything makes it. That's the only thing I'm just maybe a little confused on, is just the large delta there, especially for a new program that you're testing out. But
yeah, again, it's a broad window, and it is like there's so many unknowns right now. So we might be back a few years from now and tighten it up a little bit. We'll see.
Okay.
Very good questions. Any others?
I have one question. For the metric of the number of associate's degree recipients, is that like unique students receiving, or is that associate degrees given in totality?
So it's since it's the number of recipients, it's one. So if you get 4 degrees, you count as one. If you get a degree and a certificate, you count as one on both. And if you come back in multiple years and get, say, stackable certificates, as long as they're across multiple years, you'll be reported as multiple successes.
Right. Any other questions? All right. So we just need a motion and a second to approve.
I'll second.
So we had a motion from trustee Rios and a second from trustee Olson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Dr. Warnock. So moving on to 11.1, consideration to enter into an employment agreement. First, I'd ask, is there any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, there's no public comment on this item.
Okay. So prior to considering this matter as required by Government Code Section 54953C3, I am providing an oral summary of the recommendation regarding the salary and fringe benefits under the proposed contract. This is with our new incoming superintendent, Dr. Gail Pittman. The district is entering into an employment agreement with Dr. Gail Pittman as superintendent president beginning July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2028. The superintendent president will receive a monthly salary of $27,500, provided the superintendent president performance is provided the superintendent president's performance is deemed satisfactory through the annual evaluation process. The superintendent president shall receive an annual increase equal to the percentage increase in the consumer price index for the preceding calendar year, not to exceed 5%. Salary will be prorated for any partial month of service. The superintendent president shall be entitled to receive the same fringe benefits as the administrative confidential employment group. So I'm going to ask for a motion and second to approve this item.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
A motion to approve from trustee Dodd with a second from trustee Olson. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Welcome aboard, Dr. Pittman. Glad you could be with us this evening. So moving on then, we are at 13.1, program discontinuance of digital design and graphics technology programs. Dr. Mora, you can just introduce this item, please.
Yes, thank you. So first, a little context about both items, because this is in the broader context of trying to address some of the budget challenges that we look at over the next 5 years proactively. And so as a process this spring semester, we reviewed a total of 4 areas, 4 programs. 2 of them are appearing on this agenda because they were not endorsed to continue by the program discontinuance work group. That work group gains its authority from AP 4024, and it follows a standard process to include a review of a significant amount of data based on many metrics, including enrollment persistence, completion outcomes, job placement. Cost is one of the factors as well. So after that process, the digital design and graphics technology program, and you'll see that we have 4 associated programs. So the AS degree, the Certificate of Achievement, and the Architectural Drafting and Design Certificate of Achievement, and Mechanical Drafting and Design Certificate of Achievement were not endorsed to continue. The recommendation here is to discontinue the program effective immediately. We do have a career education and workforce development counselor who will reach out to students. And as a point of clarification, there are currently 13 students who are enrolled in the program. That's in all sections of the program. So those 13 students will receive proactive counseling and advisement around their options. There are institutions who offer a digital design and graphics technology related program that they can continue studying with nearby. There are also some students who may have already met the requirements, so we would counsel them as to how they can receive their certificate of achievement or their associate degree. So just as one final note, the reason that all of the programs, the 4 that underwent this process this semester, were included was because they had a small number of students and a small number of faculty, and the small was defined as 1 or 0. So each of the programs have either 1 full-time faculty or no full-time faculty. And in this case, the current number of students is 13. I'm happy to answer any questions or provide more information if needed.
Before I actually turn to the board for any questions, I want to see if there's any public comment on this item.
Yes, Madam Chair. As you can see, we received approximately 10 written public comments that are attached for the record. And we do have 3 individuals in person who wish to speak. And we can start with Gary Stroman.
Thank you. Before I start speaking from my speech here, I would like to address what Dr. Mora said. First of all, she's looking at 1 single semester. We did have a low semester of enrollment this 1 semester, but if you look in the last 4 years, and according to our PEP report, our program is actually in a state of growth. Armando, if you would pass the 3D print across, please. Good evening. My name is Gary Strum, and I'm the program coordinator of Napa Valley, Digital DDGT. I'm here tonight to respectfully ask that you consider continuing our program. I want to begin by addressing the financial concerns. Our program has already taken significant steps to reduce costs. We eliminated a 20-hour per week program assistant position and reduced our computer lab from 32 workstations down to 11, made possible by offering courses in flexible HyFlex format that allows students to attend in person, online, or asynchronously. And we have done our part to be fiscally responsible. According to our most recent program review, our enrollment is actually growing. However, I'm concerned that the data being used to evaluate our program does not tell the whole story. Student certifications are going untracked, and completed skill certificates have been submitted but not processed, understating our true outcomes. The labor market analysis reviewed only traditional drafting opportunities. Our students also learn graphic design, web design, 3D printing, and 3D laser scanning, video editing, and more, skills that are overlooked simply because they did not match an outdated top code classification. Of all California community colleges, Napa Valley College is the only institution that is also an Autodesk authorized training center. This allows our students to earn up to 7 industry recognized certifications that cost nearly $2,000 at other institutions. We include that in our program for a lab fee of $125 each. If this program is discontinued, that license will be gone permanently and another institution will claim it and we will never get it back. Our students are getting jobs. They are graduating with real marketable skills that employers want. This program is not offered at this level anywhere else in the region. I'm not asking for more resources. I am simply asking for the opportunity to continue to rebrand as drafting and design and restructure our courses into smaller, flexible 3-unit classes that give students more options and greater access. If the college continues to eliminate programs that are unique and distinctive, what will set Napa Valley College apart? What will bring students here? Please give this program the chance to continue serving our students and community. And I quickly am going to showcase, this is the latest project for my students. We are 3D printing the whole entire campus. We did the available online as an interactive model for students.
We have 2 more public comment requests along with 1 via Zoom. Up next in person, we have Jennifer.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Stroman, and I would like to speak to you today about the positive impact that Digital Design Graphic Technology program has had on our community. My husband, Gary Stroman, has served as the program coordinator for this program for the past 13 years and has been directly involved with it for many years beyond that. Together, we've witnessed the evolution of the program through traditional in-person learning, online instruction, high-flex models, and every combination in between. Through all these changes, Gary has remained deeply committed to student success. Gary brings a breadth and depth of knowledge that creates meaningful opportunities for students to cultivate the technical and professional skills needed across a wide variety of industries that utilize AutoCAD and digital design technologies. More importantly, he teaches in a way that builds confidence, connection, and real-world readiness. What makes this program especially valuable is that it serves a diverse population of students. Recent high school graduates, working adults seeking new careers, veterans, parents returning to school, and individuals looking for a second chance or a new direction in life. The program provides practical, industry-relevant skills that translate directly into employment opportunities. In a time when people are questioning the value of higher education, this program consistently demonstrates real outcomes and clear career pathways. Students are not only learning technical skills, they're gaining confidence, professionalism, and the ability to support themselves and their families through meaningful employment. On countless of occasions while we've been in the community running errands, we've run into both former and current students over the years. The common thread in these conversations is always the same: positive and enthusiastic connection between teacher and student. Along with sincere expressions of gratitude for careers and opportunities that they now have because the skills they gained through digital design graphic technology here at the college. Many of these students proudly share where they're working now, the projects they're involved in, and how the program has helped open doors that they never thought possible. Those conversations are powerful reminders that education is not just about completing classes, it's about changing the trajectory of someone's life. These students are not simply completing courses, they're building futures. They're finding stable employment, developing careers, contributing to our local workforce and community. This program gets students jobs. Thank you.
We have one more in-person comment request from Sebastien, and I'm sorry, Boley.
Here. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Sebastien. Thank you for letting me speak. I'd like to start off by letting you know that this is the third time I've made a 150-mile round trip to speak to the decision makers here about this topic. And I hope that helps you understand how passionate I am about this program and how much I'd like to see it continue. Now, for me, this isn't just a question of saving some courses. I strongly want to see future students same opportunity that I have that has helped me not only get a job straight out of Napa Valley College, but also has gotten me my foot in the door at every position that I've been in since. A recurring theme that I've seen in all of the meetings so far is I don't think we've shared with you all of the value that DDGT has to offer. So I want to dive into that for a couple of minutes. So as Gary mentioned, it's so much more than just a drafting program. Students are leaving DDGT primed to work in animation, architecture, 3D scanning, civil engineering, structural engineering. They're coming out of this with a killer skill set and with work habits, ethic, and performance under pressure that is unmatched. I have personally seen many times how much these skills matter in industry, but despite that, these are often glossed over or just omitted entirely in four-year programs. And this makes graduates from DDGT stand out. I sit on a hiring board at my current employer, and I would be thrilled to see a DDGT graduate slide their resume across my desk. I cannot stress enough that this program is entirely unique. Of approximately 120 accredited community colleges in California that offer welding, drafting, and similar technical programs, our program is the only one that is an Autodesk authorized training center. That gets us two powerful things. That gives students access to full copies of industry standard software so that they can fully immerse themselves in these programs and maximize their learning. And it gets them powerful certifications that make them stand out, certifications that helped me get my foot in the door many times. But beyond these on-paper assets, I really hope you understand the incredible asset that you have in Gary. He is a person with an unmatched passion and ability for his teaching, who I've seen time and time again inspire students. I can honestly say that he has changed my life tremendously, and I know that I'm one of countless students who can say the same thing. Though I understand budgets do matter, but instead of closing this program, I'd like you to consider investing in it. I know that if more people were aware of the value that we're offered here, the enrollment would grow and that this program would become more financially viable in a quick, fast, and hurry. So before you vote, please, I want you to consider carefully what we stand to lose here. This is a program that took decades to build into its current form, and if you choose to discontinue it, we will never see something of this quality again. Thank you for your time, and please make good choices.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments or questions from the board?
Madam Chair, we have one more.
Oh, one more, I'm sorry. Okay, one more
public comment.
Go ahead.
And that is going to be Timothy Law via Zoom. And Timothy, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Hey, good evening. So I guess just to kind of continue with what Sebastian was speaking about, the DDGT program is an interdisciplinary hub, and it interconnects between the arts, technical sciences, and a lot of different trades. Like as time moves on, more of the trades are starting to become more involved in using CAD to achieve their goals. And considering how expansive and interdisciplinary the program is, I think that, you know, speaking about budgets, we have a lot more federal grant eligibility because we could be under the blanket of STEAM instead of just STEM. And it definitely broadens, you know, a lot of the instructional diversification. And the program can definitely be expanded to offer a lot more. And then, let's see here. And like right now, you guys are trying to cut it to, you know, save revenue, but it seems as though it would be cheaper to keep and more expensive to cut when you think about the long term. Like all of the physical labs, the workstations, all of that stuff has been built, and to like liquidate it, you wouldn't get as much of a return as you might think. And it would just be a sunken cost, a lost cost. And like the deficit is caused by mainly a real estate error, if I'm understanding correctly. And so it seems as though those two shouldn't be interconnected. It just seems that the direction should be to figure out ways to fill those spaces and get more revenue in through the real estate investment. And that's pretty much all I have to say on the matter. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Do we have any additional public comment?
Madam Chair, that was the last public comment on this item.
All right. Do we have any questions or comments from the board?
I have a question. What is the cost of this program and how did that impact this decision? Yes, the cost that was calculated by the business office was projected for fiscal year 27 to be $272,000. And that excludes any investment in equipment. So periodically the computer lab needs replacement items. Those have been covered by strong workforce funds, but what we are encountering is our strong workforce dollars are being really pressed. We have a lot of demands on them. So this past go round, we were unable to replace all of the computers in the lab because we just didn't have the money to do so. So that's a cost that is not included in the $272,000 annually.
I had a couple, can I follow up? Because I think Eric pointed out too in your presentation. Did I get your name right? Okay, sorry. That there wasn't any more projected costs, that he wasn't asking for increased budget, right? In the presentation. So I was questioning that. And then I also had a question going back to Dr. Warnall and the accreditation piece. When we look at discontinuing programs like that, does that factor into this evening's report that we had? Like were these, but it's not factored into the current report? Just because of the fiscal years? I would have to go back to it, but
Like job placement rates, they are reported by individual program within that, provided the programs had at least 10 students in them. So for some programs, we don't report, we
because of the
protect
number of
the,
students.
anonymity. And then the licensure exam pass rates don't pertain to them, but for the, at the institutional level, it could include certificate recipients and degree recipients.
And then one of the speakers pointed out federal grant funding under STEAM versus STEM. So are those, have we looked at explored those options?
Yes, our grant manager looks at every possible grant opportunity that exists, and there hasn't been something specifically for this program. Just as a point of clarification regarding the number of completers, in fall 2025, we had 4 students completing the program, and in the prior year, 24-25, there were a total of, it looks like, 7 for some degrees and certificates. This program has not witnessed a large number of degree and certificate completers.
And then just some of my other questions are on like the whole 3D printers. Like I remember when we originally invested in the 3D printers. And I think the laws on that are changing. So I'm wondering, like, are we missing the boat by discontinuing a program like that with some of the changes in the industry?
We do have 3D printers on campus, and in our makerspace, students are working on them, and that's housed near the MESA program. So that activity can still occur without a program attached to it.
Who would oversee that? So I have, who would oversee that if they're using it, and how would they be taught to use the 3D printers? And then my original question is, you mentioned that they would be meeting with the CTE counselor. What planning has gone into place to be able to capture these 13 students, their desire to continue learning in this space? And, what is the district doing to maybe reimagine how we can continue providing this type of learning to them?
Dr. Moore, if you could hold on for just a second. I'm sorry, public comment has been closed, so we're not going to be entertaining any additional comments. Thank you.
So the Career Education and Workforce Development Counselor, we do not have an action yet. So there's nothing that we could communicate about a particular approach for this program. But should the board take action on this item, they will reach out proactively with the students, the 13 students, and any past enrollees, because what we see is that students may start with a program and take one class, and as I mentioned, the number of completions is low, the amount of persistence across the duration of the program is low, but there may be students who started in a class and wish to continue. We will advise all of the students who have a history of taking these courses in the last several years so that they do have pathways that they can follow if they choose to do so.
And then just the follow-up to what Kyle was stating, if the 3D printers are gonna stay on campus, how are they gonna be allowed to be used? Is there gonna be somebody overseeing that? Are they part of a different program?
The
How are we gonna
3D
ensure that?
printer is currently in the maker space, which is adjacent to the MESA program. So our math, engineering, and science program. So the maker space 3D printer is actually already in use, not by the DDGT program, but by students who are working in the maker space.
I wanted to clarify something that you had said in your initial introduction to this, you used a phrase, I think you said it twice, that had something to do with it not being I can't remember but it was it that it didn't get voted in to keep it. What was the phrase that you used?
It was not endorsed to continue.
Yeah.
So I can explain
Yeah, can you
that in more
explain that a
detail.
little bit more?
Certainly. So our process involves at least 2 meetings at which during which we review data and discuss a recommendation for action. So at the second meeting, there was a motion to have a third meeting to discuss any other possibilities further. That motion failed for lack of a second. There was a motion to continue the program. That motion failed for lack of a second. There was also a motion to discontinue that program. That motion failed for lack of a second. The committee, I think through failing to second, expressed some point of view on the program. I think there was not clear consensus about its continuation. There was, when we reviewed the data.
Director, I'm sorry to interrupt you mid-flow, but can you just talk about the committee and that, that composition? Yeah.
And when
Yes.
were the meetings held?
I'm sorry?
What's the time period that the meetings?
Yes. So the first meeting was, I think we have listed in there, the first meeting was on March 19th, the second on April 17th. So there's a month spaced apart between the 2 meetings. Part of that is to allow sufficient time for gathering of additional data that gets requested at the first meeting. The work group members are composed of the faculty member, and if the program coordinator is different, that person would also be invited. In this case, DDGT is led by Gary Stroman, and he is also the program coordinator, so that's a single role. It's the academic senate president and the curriculum co-chair, the faculty co-chair of the curriculum committee, the dean of research, planning and institutional effectiveness, the dean of the area, and myself, and I facilitate those meetings. And then, I'm sorry, Trustee DeLuna, did I answer your question? Okay.
I have one question. I think there was a comment that this program is possibly misclassified. I think one of the people commenting stated that this is not just a design and graphics technology program, that it's more than that. How do you respond to that comment?
There was a request at the first meeting to look at additional top codes. These are the codes that we use to designate particular programs of study. And a very long series of top codes was provided by the program coordinator, and the request was made to our research office to provide information on those. And Dr. Warnall did present information on those. It might be, I don't want to put you on the spot, and I'm not sure if you want to entertain additional information from Dr. Warnall, but that assessment did not yield compelling evidence that there was additional demand in those areas related to the program.
Well, that it wouldn't generate additional demand, but I'm wondering if it was classified as some other type of program, engineering or something. Would that lead to potentially other funding or other sources of support for this program?
Well, we do have an engineering program, so I wouldn't want to conflate the 2 of them. In terms of what additional funding might be out there, any number of things might exist in the future. I can't talk in hypotheticals. What I know is we do not have dedicated funding for this program right now. And the cost of the program relative to the number of students served is very high.
Would you, and again, I know you don't have the information right now, but what about possibly, creating or making this a part of like the engineering program?
So the two programs have very different minimum qualifications. The engineering program requires a master's degree as the minimum. This program requires a bachelor's degree and is more fluid in the number of disciplines that are allowable to teach. So that would not be possible to conflate them since they have different standards for qualification.
Any other questions or comments?
I have a question. I'm trying to figure out how best to phrase this just because the possibility of it is, I mean, it's an action item today. And so it's hard, I think, hard to probably answer it. But in a similar way, if these students are finding work after completing their certificates or their degrees, I don't know if there's been like a conversation with the local employers in the area and, what their support is of the program. And we've been able to garner some kind of support whenever we did the transition for community ed with adaptive PE. And in a similar vein, if that, is a realm of possibility for this.
Dr. Moore, I know you guys did some labor market analysis. Can you tell us maybe a little bit about that?
Yes, so we shared with the work group the report from the Center of Excellence for Labor Market Research for the Bay Area. And the recommendation, and I'm reading from that report, is based on all available data, there appears to be an oversupply of digital design graphics technology workers compared to the demand for this cluster of occupations in the Bay region and in the North Bay subregion, Marin, Napa, Solano, Sonoma counties. There is a projected oversupply of 3 students in the Bay region as an oversupply of 3 students in the North Bay region. That I am quoting from the labor market analysis provided.
And are there alternatives for students if this program is shut down, that they could look in locally or regionally?
Yes, there are other programs that are available at adjacent colleges. And of course, there's some overlap. If students are interested in engineering, for example, they can certainly join our engineering program. If they're interested in, in computer science or another related field, we have those disciplines that we can refer them to.
What year was that analysis done? And then did we do anything on our own to see where our students were going to, how many? I wrote down the number of graduates for the last couple of years, but there was a comment that the enrollment was actually higher than just 13. So I just want a little more information on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So this analysis was conducted in August of 2025. So within the past 12 months. In terms of the enrollment, in fall, there was higher enrollment. There is a course that gets taught once a year, and that adds to the enrollment. One thing that might also be relevant in terms of tracking enrollment and changes over time is that this program underwent the program discontinuance process about a decade ago and came up with a similar sort of ambivalent, should we keep it or not? And through lack of action, it was retained. Looking at enrollments over time, I think we can see there's a pretty consistent pattern that classes are very small.
Any additional questions or comments? All right, do we have a motion to take action on this item?
I would like to make a motion to table this until we can get more information to the next board meeting.
Is there specific information? Is there specific information that you're wanting to direct staff to get?
I don't feel comfortable with the work that has gone into plan and retain some of this learning for students. I don't, again, with as to Justin's point or Trustee Dizon's point, there just hasn't been as much planning as I would like to see. And that's another reason why I voted against the APE going away. I don't like to leave students and whole communities, to me, kind of in this, let's see what happens. space. I think we didn't have enough planning before, and so I just would like to see a little bit more of what is gonna happen from now on. What are we gonna do with the program? Is it just gonna get completely, dissolved, and then the students are just left with no other information? And you have talked to some of those points, but we had the questions and you've answered them. But I'm just not comfortable with all of them that we're really addressing the need at this point.
I would second the motion
Yeah.
to table it.
I would like if, before there's a vote, as far as information, if this motion passes, I have no doubt that there's been a lot of planning and thought that's gone into this, but I would like to see the actual enrollment numbers and the over time. So we're hearing from the person who's teaching telling us one thing, we're hearing another, but I'd like to actually see that data.
Absolutely. Yes, we have the data. I can tell you, I mean, if you'd prefer it in written form at a subsequent meeting, but I can tell you that total enrollments in 2015-16 were 81, in 16-17 were 72, and I could go through and span in 24-25, there were 91 total for the year across. So under 100 students in most years.
Okay, well, if this motion passes, I think I'd like to see that.
Madam Chair, if I may, at this time, you do have a motion and a second on the table, and it would be appropriate from a parliamentary perspective to have discussion on the existing motion.
Do we have any?
Right, so Trustee Rios is asking for information about that, so in terms of what would be presented last time, but could we just go over that information? We're asking for, I'm sure if this is but understanding, I thought I understood there was 14 students. Or is it
13 students were enrolled. So our semester is ending right now. In this spring 2026 semester, there are a total of 13 students enrolled across all of the sections. So what the program has done, recognizing that our section size was very small, is they've taken a proactive step to concurrently enroll the sections. So if you look on the schedule, you'll see a range of classes, but they have a cumulative aggregate enrollment of 13 right now.
Yeah, I think we need more information on how that.
I would have a follow-up question on that, but I would call the question. Call the motion.
So all in favor of tabling?
Aye.
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 No.
No.
Aye.
Okay, so we will bring this back next month and for further discussion then. All right, moving on to 13.2, program discontinuance of machine tool technology programs. Dr. Moore, can you please present?
Yes, absolutely. So this was a very clear and unanimous recommendation from the work group. You saw tonight Professor Stan Hitchcock, who is an amazing contributing faculty member who worked very hard to develop an alternative solution for the current state of the program, which is composed of 44 units of coursework and in excess over 1,000 hours of in-class time for students in just the major courses. So that is excluding any associated courses or general ed courses. So he has put together a modified version of the program, which is comprised of 216 hours of in-class time. So when you look at the courses listed here, and if we could move to the machine tool technology program details, you'll see them listed. So currently we have the two programs I'm referencing are the Machine Tool Technology AS degree and the Machine Tool Technology Certificate of Achievement. Those are the high unit value programs that were endorsed for discontinuance by the work group, including the program faculty member. We have also on the books to start in fall of 2026, a machine tool technology 1-year certificate of achievement. And Professor Hitchcock had actually worked on this with recognition that not enough students were getting through given the high unit value of the program. And so had worked on a modified version of this, which allows them after completing 2 of the courses to receive the certificate of achievement. So the proposal is that in 26-27, the upcoming academic year, we would retain that 1-year certificate of achievement on the record. So we would have it in our catalog, but we would not offer those courses because we are transitioning from this higher unit value version to a much more streamlined version, which is an 8-unit certificate of achievement proposed to begin in fall of 2027. That certificate is not to be confused with the 1-year certificate of achievement that exists. So the purpose of retaining the 1-year certificate of achievement for 1 more year, 26-27, is to allow any students who have completed the first 2 courses in sequence, which means every student currently enrolled. So all of his spring completers would be able to be awarded that 1-year certificate of achievement come fall. Due to our curriculum cycles, that certificate does not come into being until the fall semester. So we cannot award it now. And those students have not completed the 44 units in this larger program. So in fall semester, we would proactively award those students, as well as capturing any other students who in the past may have completed those 2 sequenced courses, but stopped down. I mean, that's a common pattern. And one of the things that we are trying to address with this change is that students did receive jobs after a couple of terms of study, and so went into the workforce before they were able to earn a certificate. So we will be able to capture those certificates with the 1 year, and then in 27, we would be able to resume the courses with the new certificate pattern, which is more streamlined and directed than even the 1-year certificate of achievement. It's an 8-unit course of study where students complete 216 hours in the classroom, and that can be conducted either over the course of 2 semesters, or it could be offered in a summer boot camp model if there were students who are interested in that. And later on, when I share my area report, I'll mention that we did receive some grant funding to support students coming into that fall 27 class. So that is something that, as I mentioned, Professor Hitchcock worked with his advisory board, got their support for this change in curriculum, submitted it to the curriculum committee. It is moving forward for review for next year. And so the recommendation across all of the members of the work group was to discontinue immediately the first 2 programs, to retain the 3rd program for 1 more year, and then we will start the abbreviated version of the program starting in fall 2027.
Since this is an action item, do we have any public comment?
Madam Chair, we do have one request to speak on this item, and that is James.
Oh. Does my time start now or? All right, hello, I'm James. I'm a student in the Machine Tool Technology program. I'm also a resident at the River Trail Village Apartments on campus that recently opened. I matriculated into this program with the belief that I'd be given the opportunity to complete an associate's degree. And by the end of the, I guess, last fall semester, I was both confident in my ability and my desire to go and finish an associate's degree that before February, I already signed a new lease with the apartment for the 2026 to 2027 academic year. Now I'm learning that, the current proposal is for the associate's degree to be discontinued effective immediately. For me to continue my education, I would realistically have to move to a different county where a similar course is offered, just because, I'm sure the whole committee is aware, gas prices are quite high right now. Commuting would not be a financially feasible course of action. So in light of that, I would face obviously the general costs associated with moving, but also the possibility that I may need to pay a $500 penalty to cancel my lease that begins next academic year. On top of that, besides the financial burdens I've mentioned, one of my big concerns is actually related to my own personal health. I'm a Medi-Cal recipient, and despite the fact that I finished my transferring my coverage to Napa County back last October, I did not get a chance to establish care and see my primary care physician for the first time until last month, April 1st. So one of my big concerns is if I have to go move counties again, there's realistically going to be an additional 6-month or 7-month period where I'm essentially without a primary care provider. On top of primary care, I currently receive immunology treatment, allergy shots for seasonal allergies. Again, despite the best efforts of my insurance provider's care coordinators, I essentially went and had a 6-month lapse in that treatment. And so despite having spent about 1.5 years getting up to maintenance doses, I essentially had to go and restart that process upon moving to Napa County. And I have not reached maintenance since because again, I was not able to resume treatment until about March. And so that's basically one of my other concerns is I'm going to essentially have to go through the process of getting up to a maintenance dose in my treatment for a 3rd time if I have to go and move counties. In light of those concerns, I'd like to ask the board to reconsider the termination of the associate's degree and at least allow myself and my peers in the same cohort to have the opportunity to finish a 2-year degree. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Madam Chair, that was the only public comment on this item.
Do we have any questions or comments from the board?
Can we do what the public comment suggested? Is there an additional cost in that, extending the AA offer for 1 year?
There is. So Stan Hitchcock retired this year, and we do not have a full-time faculty member nor a part-time faculty member to teach the courses. The way the courses are constructed, they require so many hours in the classroom that we cannot cover a single course, much less multiple courses, with one adjunct faculty member. So before this process even started, when we were aware last fall and early spring that Stan was going to retire, we started an active recruitment for an adjunct faculty member to teach these courses. For most of the time the recruitment period was open, we had 1 applicant. It's very hard to find folks who are qualified to teach in this area. We did get all the way up to 3 applicants, but when we were looking at how could we assign them, we would need at least 2 to cover 1 class in order to split the hours and not exceed the limitations that we have for adjunct faculty members. So the dean of the area was talking with those applicants about what their schedule might look like. There was some hesitation about teaching that many hours because most adjuncts would be employed in the industry and they would be doing this on top of. So the current structure of the program makes it very, very difficult to find folks who are able to provide coverage. With the streamlined version that Stan has developed, the classes are shorter and it will be less of a hardship to find some. We can assign a single course to 1 faculty member if needed. So right now for fall, we do not have anyone on board who would come in and teach these classes.
Thank you.
Do we know how many students are currently living at River Trail Village that would be affected by this discontinuance?
I don't know the exact numbers of that.
Trying if there is, again, assuming that we did move forward and eliminated the program, is there any recourse for this $500 penalty for having signed a lease for an individual who would no longer have a program to attend.
We could certainly speak to our folks about that. I just put a note here that in the event that any future discontinuance of any programs would cause a student the ability certainly to terminate their lease without penalty. But in this case, I would need to talk to Asset Living and see if we could negotiate something if in fact the board were to determine this program would be discontinued.
And same question I had about the previous discussion. Are there other options within the more or less immediate area regionally that individuals in the program could pursue if they did want to get an AS?
Yes, so Solano Community College has an advanced manufacturing program, which has significant overlap with our program. Also, we have a welding program, and many of the students who take welding are interested in machine tool or vice versa. So there might be students who might prefer to move over to our welding program or transfer to Solano Community College, which is about 20 miles away, 14, 16, something like that. Yeah.
Any additional questions or comments? All right, then do we have a motion then for this item?
Motion to approve.
I will second.
So a motion to approve from trustee Dodd and a second from trustee Iverson. And if there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you very much. Moving on to 14.1. California Community College Chancellor's Office Quarterly Financial Status Report for the period ending March 31st, 2026. I swear we just did this thing, but I guess we're doing it again. Mr. Reeves.
Feels like a bad dream. Thank you, President Baker. This is the third quarter report that we report to the Chancellor's Office. This is the current fiscal year ending March 31st. Is there 31 days? Yes. If you could scroll through this quickly, Armando, this is a familiar report. On the far right column, the projected 24-25 budget, the general fund revenues reflect exactly what you'll see in the budget, and you'll see it again in just a few minutes when we report on the Fund 11 report. With this effectively says that we are trending very close to where our budget is indicating, and it gives you in this section on top, it gives you a little history of how our salaries have changed and our benefits have changed. You can see that they are reflective of the CBAs largely in terms of increases in salaries and benefits over the last 3 years. Under C, thank you. District intends to defend salary and benefit increases. This explains the anomaly of the large reserves that were carried over those periods when we were negotiating CBAs. On to D here, did any contracts settled in this time period? Yes, both contracts were settled. D2, does the collective bargaining agreement achieve parity between compensation for full-time and part-time faculty, temporary faculty? Yes. Did the district have significant events for the quarter, including incurrence of long-term debt, settlement of audit findings, et cetera? No, that's a good no. And down to section 6, does the district have significant physical problems that must be addressed? We're saying no. I think locally, we're certainly, we're not considering these problems that cannot be resolved, but you've been part of conversations about what we're doing to address budgets moving forward. So given that, that is the third quarter report to the Chancellor's Office, and I would certainly entertain any questions about that.
Motion to approve submitting the quarterly report.
Second.
This is an action item. Do we have any public comment?
Madam Chair, there's no public comment on this item.
And I heard trustee Dodd give the motion, and it was trustee Rios that said it had the second. So thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to information 14.2, unrestricted general fund.
Thank you, President Baker. This is your favorite report. Moving over to the far right column, you can see on the top where, and again, this is just if you wanted to do a fast skim about how we're doing, this is what you might want to reference. If you want to do a deeper dive, you can look across the columns and see how we've done over 3 audited years, where our current budget is, and how we're doing a year to date. We are at 83% of our budget on our revenue side. We're at a total revenue of around 91% of our budgeted revenue thus far. We're at 93% of our property tax revenue. And as a community funded district, you recall, we get most of that funding around December, January. We expect some trickling in through the end of the year and maybe a little bit beyond June 30th. So we are still looking for a few million more bucks from property tax. So if you haven't paid your property tax, I would urge you to do so. Moving on to salaries and benefits, our salaries are trending a little bit lower. Full-time salaries are a little bit lower than this point of the year at 76%. But when you look at the part-time salaries, you're looking at 81%. So we're underperforming, underexpending in the full-time, but we're picking it up in the part-time. So our total benefits at 83% of the year are at 79%. So we're trending fairly positively there. Under our benefits, we're at 71%, again, in a positive direction there. Our books and supplies we're in safe territory. It's at 72%. Our total operating expenses are at 67%, and our total expenses are trending around 73%. At this point of the year, which they seem to be trending in a very positive, certainly acceptable way. I'll repeat that the risk in this budget continues to be property tax revenue, and we will know more as the school year finishes up, and we'll have some more definitive information as we close the fiscal year into July. And a reminder that this budget is the revised budget you adopted 60 days ago, so it is reflective of that adjustment. Our reserve we're projecting a reserve that we may be able to add a nickel or two there, but it's looking positive right now. Certainly with the assumption that we'll receive the revenue we budgeted for. And that would conclude my report, and I'd certainly entertain any questions.
Any questions? All right, thank you very much. Now we're moving on to summary of the governor's May revise. Mr. Reeves.
Yes, thank you, President Baker. The May revise came out, and I'm going to share with you some highlights and just remind us that a lot of the information coming through community colleges is around apportioned districts. So I'm going to not spend a lot of time on that. We are a community funded district, as we all know, with our primary source of revenue coming from local property taxes. So let me just share with you a few highlights. The May revise upgrades the general fund revenues over the 3-year budget window by approximately $16.5 million over the governor's initial forecast. What that means is they're anticipating some additional revenue. What does it mean for us? It means that there are a few areas of the budget we think are going to remain intact. We are looking at COLA increases of around 2.87%, just under 3%. And those COLA increases that apply to us are typically program centric. And they typically will apply to our DSPS program, our EOPS programs, and those state categorical funds. They do not apply. We do not get COLA for property tax revenue or other revenue streams. There is a recommendation by the governor to incentivize apportioned districts in their COLA increase by considering an extended leave for family planning. That's probably the wrong term. Extended leave for family leave. That's a proposal. Again, the governor is incentivizing COLA for apportioned districts that would give them about another 0.5% or 4.3%. When you hear about that, I want to be careful that we don't confuse that with a community funded district. Our COLA would be about 2.83%. And the consideration, the recommendation from the governor is that student-centered funding for formula focused districts, they would be eligible to accept that additional COLA if they adopt that approach. I think of import to this institution is the governor has retained a January budget proposal to provide $120 million for one-time funds to address deferred maintenance and instructional equipment. You may recall that we haven't received, no college has received any of that for the last 3 years. About 3 years ago, they gave us $6 million and promptly pulled back $6 million. So while it's promising and very much needed, fingers crossed that we'll see some of those funds come through. The additional add is about $607,000 in one-time proposed student support block grant. We did receive, Dr. Guerrero will reflect on this perhaps, just over $300,000 for student support. And the governor's budget is looking at adding some additional funds to that. So that's certainly positive news. And that is a quick summary of what the May revise looks like and how it will impact us here at Napa Valley.
Any questions or comments? Good news from the May revise for community colleges.
I think I just have a question on our layoffs. And does this change anything or any projections that it could possibly change? Maybe not losing as many positions or certain positions.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Does this affect the layoffs that we had already kind of planned for?
And it's the question, does that change our budget?
Yes.
It will change next year's budget. And at our June meeting, we'll spend some time speaking to how that will be reflected in our tentative budget moving forward.
Okay.
But it does, and will have an impact.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. President and board reports. Cabinet first.
Madam Chair, we do have.
Sorry, I missed 5.1. So 5.1, board policy first reading. So, Armando.
I will be very brief. I just want to sincerely thank all of our senates, our faculty classified and our administrative confidential senates. They were amazingly collaborative this semester as we piloted some more digital approaches to these approvals to try to streamline them and expedite them while maintaining as much transparency as possible. And you'll see in the result, this is a first reading. These will be back next month for the second and final reading. But there were a lot of policies reviewed, including the full Chapter 5, very successfully, in large part due to that collaboration.
Any questions on any of the individual policies listed? All right, thank
Are
you.
you going to take the time to read all of them?
It's your bedtime reading, Jason. All right, now President Board reports. So,
before kicking it over to Dr. Moore, I'd just like to draw attention to the May 8th special update that I sent out about 2 weeks ago that documents the due diligence of the program discontinuance, where most of the questions that were asked here can be answered in that report that was sent out on May 8th. If there are additional questions, I would strongly suggest that the board consolidate those and forward those to Acting President VP or Acting President Reeves so he can be prepared to speak to the program discontinuance information that is not present on the May 8th update that was sent out 2 weeks ago.
Well, on that point, I'd like for that information to be shared publicly because that's not a public document that's shared with the public. So as our questions were made, I'm still requesting that those questions be answered in public at the next meeting.
Thank you. So, as mentioned, last week was the end of our spring 2026 semester, and this also brought to a close one of the efforts that we have been making to, working on guided pathways. So you may know that we have an HSI Guided Pathways grant, which allowed us some funding to support faculty involvement in guided pathways work. And I want to acknowledge our Dean, Chris Farmer, and 3 of our counseling faculty, Angie Moore, Hope Scott, and Eric Martinez, and instructional faculty member Claudette Chateau, who were serving on this work group over the course of 3 of them for 1 year and a 4th person for 2 years. I wanted to just highlight some of the work that that group did because it too is drawing to a close with the closure of our HSI grant. And our main focus has really been on trying to look at ways that we can make the student experience easier and clearer. So I've summarized here 12 of the actions that we've taken. One is we launched a new Student 101, a Canvas module that reached more than 1,200 new students to provide them just-in-time weekly information about things that they should be aware of over the course of the semester. While we had staffing support, there was a person who was responding to questions within that Canvas module. We also worked with A&R to conduct a pilot auto awarding of certificates in 2 disciplines, resulting in 54 additional certificates being awarded that otherwise would not have. And that served as a pilot for how we could expand this on a larger scale, which should be the next step that we take, I'm hopeful. We also facilitated the deregistration work group to address issues students were encountering via that process. We supported updates to program maps. If you haven't had an opportunity to review our program mapper tool, it's a really useful resource for students and prospective students who are interested in our programs and want to know what's entailed to get a clear visual image of what the coursework would look like if they chose a particular field of study. So each year we've been updating those maps to reflect changes in the program requirements. We've also supported a presentation at the high school breakfast regarding the program mapper tool, and we've contributed to updates in the dual enrollment handbook and processes. Also established some processes to have a non-credit transcript. Up to this point, if students took non-credit courses, they would not appear on their transcript. And so that was a concern that was brought forward by faculty and students who said, okay, I've earned this, I finished this class, but I can't see it anywhere. And so that capacity has now been included in the transcript process. And we're currently moving toward a shift, and these may seem like small things perhaps, but they're very big things that can streamline and make easier the processes to move through students toward educational completion for students. So right now, when students want to graduate, they have to fill out a petition to graduate, which is a form linked on the website. That is not something every student knows how to find, and hopefully they're meeting regularly with a counselor, which is what we always want, and our counselors do a great job of shepherding students through that process. But we're moving toward having that become a part of self-service, which is the interface we use in the portal for students to track all of their courses and their records. So that will be an improvement that our intention and working with Dr. G and his team to implement in the fall semester. We also worked on some issues with Cal Jobs awardees who were having a hard time navigating how they can get their Cal Jobs award applied to their account. So that is something we worked with the business office on, and that continues to improve. One of the things that is really, really important also in number 11 is 3.5 years ago, there was a very long list of local certificates, and local certificates mean that the chancellor's office does not recognize them as certificates of achievement. And that means that we cannot put them on an official transcript of record. But some of our programs wanted to have local certificates because they're a lower unit value. They thought they can print a piece of paper that says they completed them, and perhaps that will have some resonance for employers. What we've been moving toward is converting those into certificates of achievement. Now that the Chancellor's Office has for a few years now allowed for 8-unit certificates of achievement, moving those over to those types of certificates, which will be countable by the Chancellor's Office and by us. And more importantly, most importantly, will show up on students' transcripts. So we have addressed all but 4. There are 4 that remain. It is that's what's going to happen next year. But we have moved all of the others over. And then the last thing I'll just mention, you may recall I talked about the IEPI Technology and Tools Grant that the college has been awarded in the amount of $250,000. I will say that many of the projects, we have 5 projects to be addressed in that grant, that those project germs of ideas came out of the work of this Guided Pathways team. So I want to again acknowledge the incredible partners that we had in having those conversations to work towards some significant changes that will make things easier and clearer for students. Unfortunately, that work group is disbanded now, but I think our work will continue on. The last thing I'd like to highlight is, as I mentioned when we were discussing the machine tool technology program, we did go out for a grant which was associated, the Miranda Lux Foundation, which is a group out of San Francisco. They support students either in middle school or high school who are wanting to transition into career education programs of study. So we thought, we're in this process of creating this new pathway, the streamlined machine tool pathway for fall of 27. Is there a way that we can make sure we get the message out more widely and also encourage high school students? They don't have to be graduating, they could be in their junior year or earlier, who might want to get their feet wet and get an early experience with machine tool technology and have the class supported so that we can offer it during the summer when they are between their regular academic terms. So we did receive a notification that we will we are granted $25,000 to support a summer 2027 manufacturing boot camp for our local high school students. And we are hopeful that many, if not all of those students who choose to participate in that will transition into the new version of our fall 2027 machine tool program. So we're very excited about that pathway for them. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to keep my report a bit short. There's a lot I have on here, but I want to highlight a couple of items. Specifically, the Is Two For You initiative that I'm very proud of, that Student Affairs led over this last academic year. So this Is Two For You initiative, as you may remember, gosh, it's been a while now. I think in the fall semester, I did a presentation, or part of my report was this 15 to Finish campaign that Napa Valley College had launched. And this 15 to Finish campaign really looked at this idea: if students take 15 units, they can meet their goals at a quicker fashion and reach their goals faster. So what we found was, through the work group, through the deeper dive, through student feedback, through the data, is that this idea of taking on 15 units was perhaps for some students might be overwhelming, or could be a hefty lift, especially with work obligations or other tasks. So in response to that, we reframed this initiative to is Two For You, coming from a perspective of really asking a question. And I want to thank Jenna Sanders and her team to helping to lead that conversation around really what it means for students to consider 2 years, 15 units, and take them through a flow to see if that's the best fit. So we landed on that with student feedback. and our faculty feedback as well, and really shifted towards this idea of it being much more moving from prescriptive 15 units to a goal-oriented planning, which really sets us up to successfully launch this idea of is2 for you. So a couple of key deliverables I want to report out to you that I think is really important to highlight and lift up, is that we were able to launch a website or a link through the college website that guides students through a structured decision-making process to really come to the conclusion is2 for you. And it takes them through a series of questions, and they can answer those questions to see if this is a good fit. And then finally ends with a link to counseling. So they can take that next step, meet with a counselor, and connect and really plan out a 2-year pathway. So the data are clear that taking 15 units per, especially for our DI groups, this is critical for them to really reach their goals in a quicker way and be able either to transfer or to move on with a career, get into the career workforce faster. So this idea of 15 units is important, but again, leaving it up to students, giving them the agency to really choose, is this their path or not, right? So I'm very proud of that work. It was a collective effort across multiple departments, multiple areas, and we're putting that into practice now. So with the onboarding of our CRM work over the summer and into the fall semester, we really hope to launch this in a much larger level. So happy. And I thank all the different departments that assisted us to put that together, that really important work. And I have a feeling it's going to make a big impact here at Napa Valley College and our community. And finally, I just want to end by lifting up and really congratulating all the end of the year groups and commencement last week and all of our different celebrations. Student Affairs has been extremely busy with all the different activities. I've seen many of you at these activities, so thank you for participating in that. And yeah, we look forward to a little bit of downtime, but we're going to hit the ground running come fall. So I'm very excited about our next academic year. Thank you.
I would refer you to my written report, and I would highlight just a few items. First of all, 2 MOUs didn't make the 11th hour for signature this week, but I anticipate they will be on the consent agenda next week. That's the Napa Valley Tennis Association and Napa United Soccer Initiative. So you can look forward to those. The other area I would refer to in the facilities areas that we have successfully received a grant to replace all of our electric car stations on campus. So we anticipate being at about $52,000 is the grant. And so we'll be replacing those at no net cost to the institution. So those have been kind of dead soldiers out there for a few years anyway, and we anticipate having that completed in July. So with that, I would conclude my report.
Good evening. In the land of human resources, last month you accepted the classified unions reopeners proposal. Next month, we will once again re-engage in negotiation to negotiate those reopeners. Also, in the land of human resources, we are busy revamping our temporary employee program. This is the intent and the goal behind the revamping of this is to bring us within compliance of education code, as well as in compliance with newly negotiated language in our collective bargaining agreement. I want to very quickly thank all of those that were involved in Denim Day. Under the Title IX Civil Rights Office, Denim Day was coordinated, and special thank you to Jasmine Dela Cruz, who was among those who did some amazing coordination. Also want to thank those involved in Take Back the Night, which was a success. Want to thank Christina Gomez from News and Dr. Guerrero for his empowering speeches. And then lastly, thank all of those in our community who attended the Differently Able Scholars Community of Voices session. And I would encourage you, as we put out a new schedule for Community of Voices, if you're around, please attend. It is so insightful, the topics, having the community come together and just engage in dialogue on some very important topics that directly impacts our students and the community here at Napa Valley College. And that's my report.
Tonight is my last board meeting as superintendent president at Napa Valley College. And I want to take this opportunity to publicly thank the board, the trustees for your support. For 4 years ago, entrusting the leadership of this district, this college to me as a first-time president. It's been a very, very solid, strong 4 years, some challenging 4 years. It's been some fun 4 years. I've learned a lot, grown a lot. The job is very different than the job that I thought I was applying for when I applied, but it's grown into something that I've really grown to love. And I've grown to love this community and the people I've had the privilege of working with, of coming to know on campus in the extended community. So I just want to also publicly thank the members of the Napa Valley College community. I want to publicly thank members of the extended Napa Valley, the friendships that I've been able to develop here and the work that we've done in the community, not just in the college, but for the greater Napa Valley College community, Napa community rather. And I want to give a very special thank you to the folks that often go unheralded on this Diaz, and that's the members of my executive cabinet, because you all are outstanding professionals. And, you've been working particularly the last year and a half or so under some extremely difficult circumstances and have had to make some very difficult decisions and even harder recommendations for the board to ponder over as it relates to the future of Napa Valley College. And that's not lost on me. I've seen the personal cost that it's really cost all of you in terms of lost nights of sleep, like teary conversations in the office behind closed doors. I don't know that everyone sees the passion that you bring to the work that you do, but I do. And I think it's just the nature of the jobs that we do, right? And, that's not to, lament them or to, boo-hoo our, what we do, because we know what we're getting into when we sign up for the jobs. But that doesn't make it easier, right? When we're really tussling and contending with, decisions or recommendations that directly impact people's lives. And so I just want you to know that I see you. I respect you. I appreciate you. And I know that you're going to be in very capable hands with your incoming, I can't say our anymore, your incoming president, Dr. Gail Pittman, who I have had the privilege of working somewhat with in our time when we were in Los Rios together, and getting to know subsequent to our time in Los Rios on a personal level and develop a friendship with. And I know that Dr. Pittman is incredibly capable, very poised, very experienced, and I think the right president at the right time to lead this institution into the next phase, which is really focused on things that, unfortunately, I didn't have as much time to do here. I would have loved to have, and I know that she will lead the institution into things such as student success, really focusing on how we move the needle up and impact some of those areas that Trustee Dodd was just asking about, because those are passion areas and important areas for us collectively to be working in. So I want to say, Dr. Pittman, congratulations. As I've mentioned to you before in our many conversations, if I can be of help or assistance to you as you transition into this role, you have my number, you have my email. I just never hesitate to reach out, because I am invested in your success to the full extent that I can be. So again, just want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you.
All right, 16.2, Standing Committee and Other Appointment Reports. California Community College Trustees Board, CCCT. Trustee DeLuna, no report. Yes.
No report.
No report. Viticulture and winery.
I think we did have a meeting with the only notable thing is that June 2nd is the date for the dedication of the Wine Education Center. Is it phase 3? Two. Phase 2. The rest was, you won't be here anyway. The rest was just the regular checkup on all things. So that's it.
Foundation.
Trustee Rios mentioned the phase 2 opening. Would also add at our last foundation board meeting, the foundation board unanimously approved authorizing funds for our adaptive PE, a program that we're going to do hold in a different manner. So the idea of doing scholarships and building that partnership that we hoped as the board of trustees, we're hoping that they were going to chip in and they stepped up to the plate.
Other than that, I know we will be bringing back the digital design and graphics technology program next month. And we have a couple of other things I already know are coming. Any future agenda item requests? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to trustee and board chair reports. I'm going to start with student trustee design, your last report.
My last report, I promise it won't be too long. I lied. I actually have two things because I thought that I was gonna have a speech moment earlier, and so the thing that I carried over from then, from the resolution item, will be now. So you all get it now, personalized to you now. But to keep the things that I kept aside for the report, the learning community transfer ceremonies were mentioned. I was able to participate in one, in the second ever Casa Cyan learning community transfer ceremony. I was able to speak at that one, which is a really amazing opportunity. The Mesa STEM transfer ceremony, one of the things I wanted to highlight from there was that it was mentioned during the ceremony that when the program started, it had originally 35 students as a maximum. And then it has grown enough to the point that this year it is transferring out 36 students. And I commend the program for its growth. Admittedly, I'm pretty biased to the program, especially considering I spent most of my time there. So I wanted to congratulate my peers as they move on to their next steps. Just because it was mentioned in a different report for a different item earlier, I figured it'd be good to let you know how my semester ended. I think you're all eagerly awaiting for where I'm going. So to let you all know, I will be transferring out to UC San Diego. I'll be studying neurobiology. Great, thank you. You were all already happy to hear this at the end of the last semester. So to give you continuity, I'm finishing my time at the college with a 4.0 GPA. So this past semester was pretty tough. So I'm pretty glad to maintain that. And for the last report item that I had, it wasn't able to be finished today, but I wanted to express to you all that I am working with Armando on a student trustee handbook. So hopefully the insights that I will be providing the next student trustees, it can be carried forward for the future ones. And so you can't get rid of me. Like there's going to be a part of me in every student trustee going forward. And then, so this last part was the speech that I wrote, not too long by my standards. And what I was going to share. So imagine that this room is still filled with everybody around us. Yes. Technically, those speeches to the board, so the people who are supposed to hear it are here. Selfishly, I'm excited to reflect on my time as a student trustee because this position has become deeply meaningful to me. It's been such a transformative experience, and opportunities like this are rare moments where you get to celebrate your growth surrounded by friends, mentors, and the people who help shape you along the way. As the semester comes to a close, I've been holding on to the phrase, savor your lasts. And tonight, excuse me, I can honestly say that I'm savoring this moment, but I won't do it for too long, don't worry. I'd like to begin by acknowledging, man, what a term. This past year has truly been one heck of a roller coaster ride from start to finish. This was a very stressful time to be student trustee. Campus tensions were high, and admittedly, there still are. In the fall, the various negotiations happening across campus nearly led to what would have woefully been historic firsts for our school. And I know I never would have directly received the criticism or blame that might have come with being a part of the board during, the first ever strikes if they happened. Had they happened, but being in this space still made me a part of it. I was granted the opportunity to meaningfully participate in conversations surrounding our campus and navigate what those moments meant for students. Coming into this, I really had no clue what I was stepping into when I ran for student trustee. If I'm being honest, I only ran because Natali suggested that I be a good fit, and I thought, why not? And that why not has led to some of the most transformative experiences and growth of my life. This position has been incredibly fulfilling while also extremely challenging. It pushed me personally, professionally, holistically. It challenged me to apply myself in spaces I once believed were outside of my comfort zone. Coming into this role, almost completely blind, forced me to explore my own brand of leadership. There was no one for me to really model myself after, and so I had to discover for myself what it meant to make a difference in my own way, what it meant to advocate for students, what it meant to be a trustee. And navigating the complexities of being specifically the student trustee, where my peers and I are the ones directly impacted by decisions made at this level, taught me a lot about responsibility, learning how to remain authentic in a role where people trust you to make decisions that impact their lives. That was hard. Found myself deeply invested in this role. I spent a lot of time outside of our meetings speaking with people across our campus community to hear all sides of the stories and bridge what I felt were gaps in communication. I really gave it my all. There was actually a time in October where I was completely knocked out on the floor of our community room because I was so exhausted from the past few days. But this work led me to finding my voice, a voice that I feel is still being refined, but one that I feel really began to emerge during the tensions our campus experienced this year. And just when I thought things had finally settled after the fall semester, we experienced staffing reductions and difficult conversations surrounding adaptive PE. And during that time, our campus community fell into a sort of disarray, while many students still had no idea what was even happening behind the scenes, which really is the forefront of the scenes. The majority of my spring semester was spent presenting in classrooms, having discussions with students, and making sure that all students were felt seen and heard. But being seen and heard is not the end all be all. Being a trustee and an advocate, I painfully learned, is not always so simple. Balancing the long-term sustainability of the campus with the real impact those decisions have on people is incredibly complex, and conversations with you all throughout the year really pushed me to articulate why I took stances that I did. And it made me realize a very important lesson, one that I think is unique specifically to the role of student trustee. Student trustees, we advocate for all students, 100%. It's not about elevating the voices of only a small percentage over everyone else, and it's not being selectively choosing of who deserves consideration. It's about making sure that every student feels heard, especially the people who feel unseen, overlooked, or unheard. And being able to do that work has been the most fulfilling part of this experience. Don't worry, we're almost there. Throughout this term, I've been able to bear witness to the extremely difficult but inspiring work of what being a trustee is. One of the first things that happened after I was elected was that a professor told me she could see me becoming an actual trustee in the future. At the time, I didn't really understand the sentiment, nor did I understand what she saw in me that made her believe that. But as much criticism as the board may receive, I've come to see that at the heart of this work is the intention to provide students with opportunities, spaces, and the support to pursue their dreams. And I think my time here is a reflection of that work. And it's something I could genuinely see myself continuing in the future. I don't know what community I'll eventually settle into once I'm fully into my career, but I do know that I want to continue giving back to wherever I end up. I want to acknowledge my family, especially my mom who is here today. My mom instilled in me the desire to give back to the communities that helped build me. And I think a large part of why this role became so meaningful to me is because it allowed me to do exactly that. I wanted my mom to see the scale of what I've been trying to do to help people, to advocate for others, and hopefully to leave a positive impact on the lives of the people around me, and for her to understand why I told her I was always so busy. To my friends and my mentors who came tonight, I hope they've been able to see the best parts of me throughout this journey. I'd like to close it with a quick story, one that I haven't told many people, but one that I experienced specifically because of this position. A couple of you have heard this story. When I was coming back from the Student Trustee Conference in Ontario back in August, I was checking my bag in at the airport when I noticed an older woman struggling with hers. In the crowd, nobody moved to help her, but something in me told me to step in. I left my peers for a moment, and then I stayed with her until I was able to get her all the way to her gate. She told me that she had recently retired and was moving back to be with her family in another country after spending a lifetime helping others as a doctor. And before we parted ways, she told me, I'm happy that my final impression of America is you. I often think about legacy, what I want to impart on others and how I can positively impact people's lives, no matter how long or short they know me. What struck me most is that this woman really only knew me through my character, through the way I chose to treat her just in that split moment. And ever since that moment in August, I've carried that experience with me throughout this entire year, hoping that others might feel the same way after interacting with me. I hope I've done enough to leave behind a positive legacy here, one that feels authentic and genuine to this community and to everyone here today. I hope that when people think back on my time here, they don't just think of a good student trustee or a good leader. I hope that they think of a good person. And for all future student trustees, this is why it would have been funny if we did it right before we swore Riley in. I hope I'm a tough act to follow. So yeah, that was my speech. And then I thought I had an idea. Hopefully I'm allowed to take this nameplate. But before everyone leaves today, I was hoping I brought a silver Sharpie in if everyone on the dais could sign my nameplate, and that way I can take it with me. That way it's a souvenir for my time here. But otherwise, that will be the end of my report.
We're gonna make most of us sound like garbage. I'm gonna let Trustee Olson go next. Yes. Great. I have to follow Trustee D's on. Thank you. I just want to start by sharing a message with Dr. Powell. I just want to share what a privilege it's been to work alongside you for the past 3.5 years. And just point out a few things about your leadership that I truly admire. I admire that you are strategic and thoughtful. You always see the bigger picture and you help us move toward it. Helped us, I guess I should use past tense now. Helped us move toward it with purpose. You were transparent. You kept us informed and you trusted us as partners. You were genuinely present. You showed up, never in a hurry, for students, staff, faculty, or cabinet, us, everyone on this college community. You always had time for us. Your tenure, as you mentioned, wasn't without challenges, but you faced them with honesty and integrity and always with the college's best interest at heart. I just want to thank you for everything you've brought to NVC and to me personally. It's been an honor working with you. And now, before I conclude my report, I have to announce that I have recently relocated out of District 5 and pursuant to Government Code 1770 will be resigning from the board effective at the adjournment of today's meeting. I know you can't vote on this. I wish you could. This came, I moved, I just have to say, I did not intend to just serve one term, let alone less than one term. I intended for this to be a long-term commitment, multi-term commitment. But my husband and I have been looking for 1.5 years for a home and we found one. We downsized our home, but added 3/4 of an acre for our giant dog, our Great Dane, and one that has property for goats. So I'm going to be getting goats at some point soon. So I couldn't turn that down. It was Napa Valley College or goats. I mean, come on. Oh, I have to name them after I'm going to get just 2. So I'm going to have to choose. Stormy. I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Might be my Stormy and Justin. How about that? Those are my ghost names.
And so I want to share that serving as trustee of Napa Valley College has truly been one of the highlights and most meaningful experiences of my life. When I stepped into this role, I understood the mission of community colleges, having been a community college person or success story myself. What I didn't fully anticipate was how much this community would give back to me. The faculty, the staff, my fellow trustees, the cabinet, and Dr. Pell. The people here are exceptional. I leave having learned far more than I ever expected to. It's been an honor, and thank you for letting me be a part of this. And you're not getting rid of me. I'll be involved as much as I can. So thank you for everything.
Jenny, love you. You are a tremendous trustee. Hardest worker. I don't want to rank everybody, but there's nobody on this board that outworks you. So I'll just I'll put it at that. And nobody cares more than you do. And you're a very special person, not only in this college community, but you as in the college and in the community in general. And I'm just so grateful that we had the 4 years, a little under those 4 years that we had with you here. In the same way that I'm very grateful that the college had Torrance here for 4 years. It doesn't seem like a long time when you look back on it, but it truly is. I was just like, what was it like 4 years ago? It's such not a long time ago. But I was looking at some of my emails and with Torrance and what the heck was going on at that time. And we're on oh man, it's just such a mess. On the heels of just the FICMAT determination, the ACCJC at-risk determination, come on the heels of, votes of no confidence and the cybersecurity breaches. But then we're quickly after a year taken out of the at-risk. I don't know how you guys did that, but absolutely incredible, Dr. Warnall, too, in terms of just getting that designation removed in less than a year. I think I asked whether they said that's never happened ever. And that's really just a testament, obviously, to the team that we have here at the college, but also I think that a little bit about that is seeing who's at the helm. And I think there's a level of trust there, and you brought that. I also think that's very representative of why we've, over the last 4 years have brought in some really community partners who weren't really serious about working with the college. That includes what we're talking about with FC 1839 and Napa United, talking about Blue Note, those really interesting public-private partnerships that really the folks on the private side are not going to take that risk and unless they feel like they've got trust with the administration, obviously, which is led by you. River Trail Village, bringing that to a closing. And like you said in your closing marks, it wasn't just you, and that's classic you in terms of recognizing the whole members of the team that have all played a really meaningful and significant contribution to making the college what it is today, to the growth that we've had over the last 4 years, significant growth. When you called me and you let me know the news about the job, I was so upset. But at the same time, honestly, I was actually even more happy because I was so happy for you. I was so happy for Jenny. I was so happy for your kids that they get to see their dad, when they wake up and get out of bed instead of maybe being here at the college in the morning. And just how special that is. So I'm really thrilled for you. I'm thrilled for your family. Yeah, it's just going to be a great thing, and I think like you offered to Dr. Pittman that we, in terms of that's where we're here. We need you. I'm not sure exactly how much you're going to need us, but I'm really, I know you're going to do really wonderful, great things, and I'm incredibly grateful for the 4 years that you've been here. I kind of go by that, I don't know if it's a Boy Scout mantra or something, but leave the place better than when you got there. And there's absolutely no question that you've done that. So thank you.
All right, moving on to Trustee Kishner.
The best way to get to where you're going is slowly. Those are some wise words that I heard from Dr. Ryan Smith a couple weeks ago at the Umoja rite of passage. And I wanted to share them with you this week. Going into this weekend as a reminder, it's Bottle Rock weekend, and please drive slowly. Please don't drink and drive. Napa Valley Transit Authority is offering free bus rides to and from Bottle Rock. Please take advantage of it. That's my report.
Thank you, sir. Trustee DeLuna. Trustee Rios.
Well, I just want to say thank you. I mean, there's not a lot more to say. Jeff is very wordy, but we appreciate that. Of course, we're very different lawyers, but I do want to say thank you. I think you've done a great job here at Napa Valley College. It was a privilege to get to know you. I think there was more there, to explore personally. I'm a little disappointed that we didn't spend as much time being up at the end of the valley and you're down here. Right. So, but I think you did an incredible job. I know it certainly didn't feel easy, but I hope that a lot of it was rewarding for you and that will continue in your new position. So thank you very much. I hope that this is not the last time I see or speak to you. So good luck in all of that. Thank you. And Jenny, it's just sorry to see you go. Would have liked to see everything else that you would have done. But once you beat Kyle, then we'll see the rest of chapter 2. Just kidding. But thank you very much for your service here and in the rest of the community. Thank you. That's all.
Trustee Harrison, would you like to rebut that?
Oh, bring it. I mean, I echo all of my trustees, agree with Rios' wordiness comment on trustees. But well said, and it's been an honor to be a trustee and have you as a president, Dr. Powell. And you've done a good job in a short amount of time, and I'm very happy for you. I'm happy for your family, and again, I think you're gonna do great big things, and I know I'm gonna see you again. So thank you, and Jenny, it's been an honor to have you as a trustee, and maybe you move back to your other house.
I'm excited about the goats. Yes. Jenny, well, it's weird. Both of my right and my left are going to be gone next month. And it kind of makes me very sad. It's been great getting to know the both of you. And, I'm at least you're not leaving town. So it's been really great getting to know you. And just since from day one when we first met, you've just been a really good friend also. And oh gosh, okay, I can't look at you. I'm talking. So I just fully appreciate all that you've contributed, and I know that you will continue to contribute, even though you won't be having a seat on the board. And Torrance, you came in at a really difficult time, and we had a long way to go when you really took us there. I'm not going to go on because, as has been noted, Jeff already did that.
And back from COVID too.
Yes, and back from COVID. Yes, and so. I mean, you definitely cut your teeth here enough to springboard into something even greater, and so we're very proud of that. You got a little bit of the Obama gray going, so I'll see. So we will see you. Actually now I think I might be excited to attend a conference on the off chance that I'd run into you. So. Oh, just one last thing I wanted to know. All of us were there at graduation. And that was awesome. So I hope that can be a trend that we continue going forward, that all of our trustees will be at graduation. So thank you very much. But we do not need to return to closed session. Our next meeting will be on June 11th, and we are adjourned at 8:49 p.m. Thank you.